Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and I'm testing the limits to how far I think I can get my hair to be wily but still decent looking at the same time. Maybe I was just meant to do commercials.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. You're a star, baby. You're a star.
A star in my own mind.
Well, it's better than nowhere.
How are you? How are you, partner? I almost called you sir. I can't believe that.
I can. Why not? I'm good. Yeah. It's all good here on the farm. Stead.
Ah, that's good. Green Acres farmstead.
Yeah. Yep. Pumpkins are coming. Got a whole patch of pumpkins.
If anybody's looking for pumpkins for Halloween, check out this.
No, I'm not telling everyone where to get them, though. That's
no. They're gonna have to go pick it up at like the side of the road or something. Like
well, we're gonna have a lot of pumpkins. Yeah, I'm hoping Rachel comes back in time to harvest the pumpkins, but I don't know.
Well, the weather is going to turn in. Well, where are we now? Mid-August. Give it another 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. Things might start to settle down a little bit. But hey, look. There's if there's one thing I think we can universally agree on is that the more we learn about the powers that be in this country and around the world, is that if there was any clue that was given away by Peter Thiel when he gave that interview about whether or not he thinks that humanity,
I think so too.
Okay, so the comments about the hair begin. If there's anything that we learned pertaining to the commentary that Peter Thiel gave regarding whether or not humanity has the right to survive, I think what he was trying to say, or maybe was alluding to, is that some of humanity has the right to survive. A lot of humanity should not survive.
I agree. What's so interesting, though, is I bet that Peter Thiel and I have different ideas about who that should be. But I also don't think humanity deserves to necessarily to continue exist. I think that, I don't know, we almost seem like sort of an experiment in Darwinism at this point. So I can't say that our species is that deserving. So
no,
I think we're a failure. I think we have failed. We have failed as a species.
We have.
Yeah.
And this is just a small reflection of a lot of the work that we have ahead of us. And at the same time, the noticing continues. There's a lot of things that we're going to get to tonight, and Jenin will be here in a few minutes. And I think most importantly to realize, anytime something significant happens, in this case, for example, like Hayden Panettiere's death, immediately people's reaction is, well, that's sad. And then you notice some of the information that starts coming out pertaining to her death. And that is, she had a few interesting things to say about her time in Hollywood just before she happened to pass on. That's always very convenient.
Not a coincidence that her new book just came out, that she's been on a tour doing interviews for the past few months. No, I don't think that's a coincidence. Are we getting into that now or no?
No.
Okay.
Just kind of setting the stage for what to expect this evening, because the truth telling on this channel is never going to stop. This is what we do. This is why we're as heavily suppressed as we are. But for the people who actively seek out our channel and appreciate the work that we're doing, we are very much appreciated. And 1000% Virginia Gvir is definitely a great comparison as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and in a different way. I mean, obviously with Hayden, it's through people like, Weinstein and those guys in that circle, but same thing. Yep. Same thing, different coast. Same thing, different coast.
Longmeadow over at Rumble. And by the way, guys, I just want to give a shout out to our Rumble people. Apparently, there were some Rumble rants that were contributed on Saturday night, and it was not brought to my attention that had happened. So again, I apologize. If it does happen this evening, Colin is back in the saddle. He will definitely let us know. If anybody has a Rumble rant, I will absolutely share it. And again, thank you for all your support over there. Yeah, humans have kind of had their good run of it. So
I don't think it's that good of a run. I think that the how good the run is kind of depends on what base you started on, right? Like, I think for some people, it was a lot better run than others.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
I don't think it's such a good run for the Palestinians.
No, we'll have a lot to address as far as that's concerned this evening. And of course, Jenin is Palestinian, so that's also something that's very near and dear to her. Look,
Even though that's not why she's coming on the show, but
no.
That did, just happen.
However, it's understandable why certain people are praying for the meteor. Like, I understand why one would just be like, yeah, let's just take everybody out. If it means that, whatever this planet is has to start itself over again, then that's the way it has to be. And I get it. I also get that what Jenin has been doing is extremely powerful, starting with working with Max Blumenthal in lieu of what he had to go through with the Trump administration stealing his belongings, because, Max Blumenthal likes to do this little thing called journalism. And apparently that's illegal now.
It's been so for quite some time, but and Max has always been one of the people to point that out. So that's ironic, but yeah.
Okay. So I don't understand this. Colin, you need to send a link to Jenin right now.
She didn't get a link today?
Nope. Didn't get it. And I think we know why.
I don't know why.
Well, I'm not about to take second guesses, but if you need her email, just let me know. Email. Colin, confirm, please. All right. Well, this is the thing about doing live. You definitely sometimes have to get things rolling on the fly, and that's okay. We should have had this taken care of a long time ago today, and it wasn't. So
I didn't know that. I had no idea. So
no, it's not. No, it's not your.
No, of course not. But I just don't know. Yes, no, we don't need to get into it. Don't get into it.
Yes, Colin was on lockdown. He is now free to roam the streets, and we will allow him to do that. All right, give me 1 second. Jen, entertain the crowd, please.
I'm not that entertaining. I'm not that entertaining.
But I said try.
I am very sad about Hayden Panettiere, though. I mean, save the cheerleader, save the world. It's very sad. And I told you this earlier. I knew something was off, really off with her in terms of mental health and stuff when she gave up her kid. Because for a woman to just sort of give up their kid custody like that, it's very uncommon. It's very uncommon, and especially for people that have means. So I thought that was very strange, and I had wondered about her, like what happened to her. So anywho,
that will never get old. But I am firm but fair, and I am turning over a new leaf. I am not going to overreact, even though this would be a perfect example of where a circumstance like that would happen. But it has been alleviated, and Jenin should be here in a minute. This is going to be the introduction to Jenin returning to our podcast. Remember, Jenin Younes and Mel Whitty host a podcast together. It is very important to follow their work, but especially the work that Jenin has been doing is exceptionally great. And of course, when you are caught in the situation that she's in, being a civil liberties lawyer and Palestinian, this is a very treacherous time. So she's putting her time to great use, not good use, but great use. And here's why.
Suing Randy Fine because he blocked our client Amjad Masad on the social media platform X. Randy Fine wants to spew the most vile, anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim, bigoted commentary and then face no pushback. He wants to be able to block those who challenge his bigoted ideas. And that's exactly what he did here.
Fear of Islam is rational.
If you are a government official, you can't open a public forum, which includes a social media account, where you engage the public and announce legislation, debate ideas, and then shut certain people out of that conversation because they challenge what you have to say. Under the First Amendment, government actors cannot block people from their official social media accounts. Just like a politician can't hold a town hall and then exclude certain people because those people challenge their viewpoints or push back on their rhetoric, they can't exclude people from their social media accounts. The case is still going on, even though Randy Fine changed his social media policy twice in response to our lawsuit in order to avoid litigation, because he did just that, because it's clear that he did this in order to rid himself of the lawsuit rather than out of a genuine desire to not violate people's constitutional rights, including our clients. And courts recognize that in such circumstances, absent a court order, the defendant may just return to his old ways once rid of the lawsuit. So we're arguing, and in fact, the court agreed with us once, that a court decree is required in order to prevent a recurrence of the same conduct. This case is important because not only does it involve Mr. Fine being held accountable for violating Mr. Massad's constitutional rights, but it also establishes that politicians can't spread bigotry unchecked and then block people when they face pushback. So it establishes for other politicians that if they're going to engage in this kind of rhetoric, they're going to face pushback from the public, and they can't just block people and then get away with it. Florida courts require people to do mediation even while litigation is ongoing. So the court in this case has said that if mediation is unsuccessful the first time, Mr. Fine is likely to have to show up in person in Florida in order to do a second session with Mr. Massad. So we are holding Mr. Fine accountable and requiring him to potentially actually have to get on a plane and attend in person as a result of his violation of our client's constitutional rights.
Without further ado, she is the president of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. She's a civil liberties attorney and the co-host of the previously prohibited podcast with Mel Whitty. Jenin Younes, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. Can you hear me okay? I was a little...
we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. You were looking down. Wait. I want her to see this because she was looking down when I put up the graphic. Did you see the graphic I just put up of Randy Fine? I think you missed it because you were looking down.
Oh, yeah. I can't stand watching myself, so I haven't actually seen that.
Same thing. But so here, I got to put it up again. You need to appreciate it.
I think you're making him look too good.
Maybe. But yeah, when I put it up there, I saw you weren't looking at it. I'm like, oh, but I have to show her. Oh, anyway, so glad you could join.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. I know it's been a while.
It's been a while, and I had recently seen you on. Were you on with Katie? You were on with somebody talking about your case with Max. Who was I watching?
Oh, not Katie. Not Katie.
Being with.
I don't remember.
See, I don't remember either, but I know that I saw, and I knew there was this case with Max when he came back and what happened with his phone. So I wanted to have you on to talk about that. And then Peter tells me you also have this other fun thing going on the side. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
We have a ton of cases actually. I guess Max's. So yeah, you want me to just talk about Max's, or do you have specific?
No,
questions?
let's go. Let's do Randy first because obviously that's top of mind and obviously something that's for us. I mean, listen, we search far and wide in the state of Florida for who is the worst possible federal legislator, and unfortunately, you have quite a pick down here. You've got Debbie Schultz, you've got Rick Scott, you've got Brian Mast with the IOF jacket, and then of course you have Randy Piggy Swine, who unfortunately has really tried to one up every other possible legislator to be the most insane over-the-top Zionist in all of politics. But it seems that you've kind of put him in a bind here legally. Please share with us.
Well, we sued him on behalf of Amjad Massad, who's a tech entrepreneur, because he blocked Amjad on X. The sort of specific situation in which the block occurred was that Randy Fine had been quote tweeting someone named an activist, Palestinian activist named Nardine Kiswani in New York, who had made a joke about how New York was realizing after a big storm that dogs weren't clean and was going to, adopt Islam. It was clearly a joke because, Muslims often don't really allow dogs in the house.
Yeah.
I learned that when I tried to bring my then boyfriend's dogs to my dad's house. But in any event, it was totally a joke. And Randy Fine quote tweeted her and said, if we have to make a choice between dogs and Muslims, the choice isn't a hard one. Clearly saying like Muslims were below dogs, and consistent with much of his other rhetoric, like calling Palestinians evil and saying they're just by nature evil, laughing at a picture of a dead Palestinian baby, that kind of thing. So Amjad wrote, "Are you talking about what's for lunch? Like the choice between dogs and Muslims?" Because, as everyone knows, Randy is a large man.
Yeah.
But
he could feed a village. He could feed a village.
Yes.
No two ways about it.
And so Randy Fine blocked Amjad, and the First Amendment doesn't allow that. The law is actually more complicated than a lot of people know in this area. The Supreme Court had a case called Linked versus Freed a couple of years ago, where they said an executive official could not block someone from his official account. And they do a very fact-specific inquiry as to whether it's actually an official account or a personal account. Like, you can't just avoid it being called an official account, by posting a couple pictures of your dog or whatever, your baby. It's about like what it's used for. Is it essentially used as a mouthpiece for government policy, for engaging with constituents, that kind of thing? And if it is, well, then you can't just like block people out of it because you don't like their viewpoint. You've essentially created a government forum for discourse, and you can't close certain people out of it. When it comes to legislators, the law is a little bit less clear. The Supreme Court hasn't directly spoken to that, and Randy Fine is a legislator. So actually, he initially argued that that was a reason that the jurisprudence doesn't apply to him, but the court didn't really seem to agree with that. So now he's going with a totally different argument, basically that because he unblocked Amjad, the case is moot. So there's no case or controversy anymore, and the court should dismiss. He actually argued, we've been in motion practice for a while. It's like boring legal procedure stuff, yeah. But he actually argued before the case was moot because he'd unblocked Amjad. The judge said, no, you could just unblock him tomorrow without a court decree. Sorry, you could reblock him. So I'm not convinced, you have to, I want to know, there has to be indicia that it's a genuine change of heart. I'm not seeing that here. I think this was just to avoid litigation. So I think you might just reblock the moment the case goes away, and she declined to find it moot. So he's arguing that again in the context of another motion. And he's saying, well, now it's been 2.5 months as opposed to 2 weeks at that time. So now you have real evidence that I really mean it. But the other thing is, in Florida, most courts, because I litigate nationwide, so most courts, like in federal courts, most courts don't do this, but in Florida, the judges are weird, and they force you to go to mediation even while the litigation is ongoing in hopes you can resolve it there. Like everywhere else throughout the country, if it's a constitutional case, you don't have to do mediation because they recognize that you're, ultimately looking for a judicial decision. That's part of the whole point of it.
Right.
But they are making us do it.
Yeah. There's no way to mediate that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like there's nothing. Well, I guess she could enter a consent. We could ask for a consent decree. That's a judicially enforceable agreement, and like a monetary settlement, attorney's fees or something. I think that, could potentially be something, but it's not normally the type of thing that you mediate. So we have to do mediation. That's happening on Thursday. The judge said that Randy Fine could send a surrogate. So he's sending his chief of staff. But the judge oddly issued an order because he had to file a motion to send a surrogate. She issued an order saying, okay, you can send a surrogate this time, but if it doesn't work, then you might have to come in person to Florida and like Randy Fine himself. So we'll see what happens.
Never thought I'd be rooting for Dan Bilzerian, but I doubt he's going to win tomorrow. That's going to be.
He can't win.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little. I mean, he's probably better than Randy Fine, but I don't really know if we want people in Congress who are saying Hitler had it right. Like that's not. I don't know that we have to go in that direction.
No, but we've gotten to a point of extremism where this is, and Jen and I talk about this constantly. And one of the reasons why Randy Fine conducts himself the way that he does is because the entire lifeblood of Zionism is being able to have no airspace between, Judaism and Zionism. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So by creating this hateful network of, rhetoric that, I mean, listen, you only have to look at just a few different messages including messages that Randy has put out there regarding Palestinian children and how he sleeps soundly at night, knowing that he looked at an image of a child that was blown to pieces and said, oh, I sleep very soundly at night. And to me, the reason he does that is because it sparks the anger. It leads to the anti-Jewish sentiment with the likes of Bilzerian. And then in turn, the Zionists like, fine, turn around and see, they hate the Jews. See what we were talking about?
Yes. I absolutely believe that. I believe that much of what these people say on social media is designed to turn people anti-Semitic, so then they can say, oh, there's so much anti-Semitism here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need Israel.
That's not new. That's actually been, I think, what the ADL has been doing forever. It's not anything I would have thought of, let's say 30 years ago, but now in retrospect, I think that's been the mission all along, is to create fake cases to exacerbate a problem that isn't a problem, and therefore create this thing. I do. I think that's always been the point of that organization and many others. Yeah.
Yep. I got in a lot of trouble for saying on Twitter that a lot of times the perpetrator of anti-Semitic hate crimes turns out to be Jewish. So maybe I won't say it again.
No, I would, because a lot of it is. And now, unfortunately, it's sort of in a situation like the boy who cries wolf. Now we're in a situation where when I see things that look like hate crimes, vandalism, those kinds of things against Jews, synagogues, whatever, my first thought now is that it's set up, is that it's by design, and that it isn't actual Jew hatred. And that's not okay, because there is actual Jew hatred, right? Like, so that's the problem that we're now in. It's infuriating, because now I don't believe it. Now when I see that, so I'm like, oh, okay, they're just trying to make us hate. Like, that's how I go.
At what point do you think that, I mean, I personally think that the tide is turning. I think that a lot of people are kind of hip to what their strategy is. I don't think it's having the same effect. I also think that we're seeing, I don't put too much stock in, just a few different elections that have happened, because as we've pointed out, elections in the grand scheme of things have very little to do with whether or not there's going to be fundamental, albeit outright, even revolutionary type change that we're seeking. But I do think that the tailwinds that we're seeing from what's been happening recently is Zionism is kind of on the ropes to a certain degree. Being in DC, do you kind of get the same impression at this point?
It's hard to say. I mean, certainly on social media, it feels like that, but I'm not sure about reality. And also, I mean, there's obviously a generational divide, as we all know. I mean, the boomers are just hopeless, especially the conservative boomers. And I think even most like liberal boomers still, they might be more sympathetic towards the Palestinians in general, but for the most part, I don't think, the Democratic establishment cares at all. I mean, look at someone like Neera Tanden. Now, I don't know exactly how old she is, but what is she, like 50 or something? So she's not exactly a boomer, but she's like kind of closer to that than, I don't know, other people like me. She's skirting boomer.
Well, I actually think people like Neera Tanden are even worse than people like even Randy Fine. And the reason I say that is because they don't believe half of what they say. They're just paid horse. That's all.
Okay. I just looked, and I can now say that Neera Tanden is exactly my age. Okay,
wow.
So we're Gen X.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
You're not claiming.
Yeah, I literally just looked, and she is 55.
Yeah, I'm not saying, oops, sorry. Yeah, I'm not saying
just
she's
saying
a boomer.
It's sad to me that I'm in that, I'm the same age as Neera Tanden.
Well, remember, there's an old saying that you scratch a liberal, a fascist will bleed, because at the end of the day, this is a class war. And there's a lot that we're going to touch upon later in the show tonight where we really, hit that, that sentiment hits home very hard. You see that a lot if you're in DC, for example, or the surrounding suburbs, that most of the people that are really, gung-ho about Israel, they tend to be of a certain, level of success in society. This isn't, everyday workaday type people that are obsessed with Israel. It's usually people that have more money than they know what to do with. And, it's almost like a pet project in a lot of ways. But at the same time, it's detrimentally evil. And I think for somebody like yourself who happens to be Palestinian, I think that the last bastion that Zionism is banking on, and it really is their last hope, it's going to hold for a little while, but even that I think will fail, is anti-Muslim bigotry has run so rampant in this country for so long. Now, granted, I do think it's more of a conservative boomer problem than anything else. See Sid Rosenberg as an example. But I do think that in many ways, that is the last thing that they can really hang their hat on, because that's the last thing I see that anybody is even giving any credence to. Even though I don't think it'll last, I do think that that's the one that probably is the most concerning as of this moment. And you would think that the more Zionism is starting to lose its grip, the more dangerous it might become, not just for Palestinians, but Muslims overall. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do think a lot of people are recognizing that Islamophobia was sort of a cudgel that was largely used to justify Zionism and to just sort of turn people against Muslims so they wouldn't feel sorry or they wouldn't feel normal human emotions when they see what is happening to the Palestinians, who are, by the way, 10% Christian approximately, but most people don't know that. So, you know, so saying it's sort of like all these bad Muslims in Gaza, the bad Muslims in Saudi Arabia, the bad Muslims in Iraq, you know, they're all the same. They all want to kill you and your family. And I think a lot of Americans bought that for a long time, but I do see a shift there. I think a lot of people are starting. I mean, again, not, you know, it's so hard to gauge based on sort of what you see on social media and the internet. It's so hard to gauge public opinion because I don't think it's necessarily representative, and there's so much gaming of the algorithm and stuff that's happening.
That, and we're in our own echo chambers, whether we even try to be or not. Like, it's very hard to know how online reality translates to in real world reality. And we see it all the time with elections. Like, this is a constant thing. Like, somebody will think something based on national, you know, perception on social media, but that doesn't necessarily translate into what happens on the ground. And I hate the term Islamophobia. It's stupid. They're not scared. They're just bigots. Same as homophobes. They're not scared of gay people. They're not scared of them. Okay. Because there's people that have legitimate phobias. And so so there's people that you know, why would we give bigots like that sort of leeway? I don't know. I'm done with that shit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
To transition, obviously you came on our radar recently with the work you're doing with Max Blumenthal. Can you touch upon that, where things are currently at and how this whole thing got started? It seemed like Max was doing this illegal tactic called journalism, and you know the Trump administration had
he was traveling while doing journalism. You cannot travel and journalism at the same time.
No, he's a really troublesome person. We had to take care of him, and we totally did.
So, guys, if you don't remember, Jenin, can you just give us the brief synopsis of what happened to where you are now, guys? This is from Max traveling to Iran.
Yeah. So he went to Iran to cover the funeral of the Ayatollah, which was, I think, the largest gathering in human history, but who knows? Yes. When he was coming back into Dulles Airport in Virginia, Customs and Border Protection asked him to put in the passcodes to the 2 smartphones he was carrying. He refused, and so they took the phones and said they were going to conduct a forensic search. They said they were going to hook, in the jargon they used, they were going to hook the phones up to devices and see what they could get out of them. But in legal terms, that's a forensic. So obviously that's not, well, I shouldn't say obviously because it might not be obvious to everybody. But that should not be acceptable under the Fourth Amendment. There are also First Amendment problems because Laura Loomer, the president's best friend, had been tweeting about Max while he was in Iran and also after, but while he was there, saying that he was committing treason, he was a spy, he should be dragged off the plane by U.S. Marshals, put in prison, never to see the light of day, blah, blah. Given the fact that it appears the administration has taken marching orders from her on other occasions, it raises the specter of Max having been targeted for his viewpoints. I mean, she obviously hates him for his viewpoints because she's a rabid psychopathic Zionist. Like, I mean, one of the craziest things she did, among many, but I think this one, I mean, in terms of crazy and cruel, I think this wins the prize. Was there were a bunch of children from Gaza who were in desperate need of medical care, mostly amputees, who were slated to come over on visas to receive treatment in the U.S. And she campaigned against that, saying no one should from Gaza, no Gazan in all caps, should be allowed into the country. And immediately after that, Rubio retracted the visas of these children who were then unable to come into the United States to receive the medical care they desperately needed. I mean, I don't know what kind, like, I don't know how someone like, I just don't know how you live. I don't know what is going through your brain. Like,
Jenin, I've said it on this show many times. I fear that woman is going to be the source of my first felony. I have concerns for her, actually, because I also think that she's mentally very unwell. Now, I don't know if it's borderline personality disorder or just psychotic narcissism. Like, I don't know, because I'm not qualified to know. But I'm glad that I don't live in the vicinity of running into her. I find her enraging. But I also feel that she's mentally unwell, right? Yeah. Not that that's an excuse, but it's like if you're talking with someone who's demented, you're not going to blame them for being demented, right? So I don't know with her. What freaks me out about it is the amount of people that aren't demented, but seemingly listening to her.
I mean, she has 1.9 million followers on Twitter.
I don't understand.
So, like,
I don't understand.
Well, no, I mean, it's actually very easy to understand because she is part of the Trump administration. You could call her whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is when you have somebody like Elon that runs the biggest social media platform in terms of usership as it stands in the world today, outside of anything that perhaps China's doing, you have a situation where you know these accounts are getting pumped up. You know that there are certain accounts that is being driven through the algorithm, kind of like how certain YouTube channels get driven through the algorithm. In her case, all of her stuff gets pumped up. All of it.
Which of course is she's obviously protected. She's obviously whatever it is that her deal is with whoever it is, whether it's Trump or whoever. I don't know. I just don't understand. She's not educated. She graduated from Barry University. I mean, Barry University, no offense, but in all reality, to someone who grew up in South Florida, that's where people go who can't get into the University of Miami. And it's not like it's that hard to get into the University of Miami, right? It's not like an Ivy League school. What is this woman's?
Well, let's not denigrate, people, where they get their education from or anything like that.
I think it's interesting. No, you don't get to be advising the president and go to Barry University and not have knowledge of anything.
I mean, her social media accounts speak for themselves. Like, they're crazy and cruel, and the fact anybody would listen to her is just, but. In any event,
I do want to ask you, though, as a sidebar real quick. Her language is extremely incendiary. It's extremely volatile. Is there any legal situation that could be brought against her? I mean, she promotes violence.
Yes.
Actively.
I've taken the opposite position that social media speech should never be considered a First Amendment exception, like incitement to violence specifically, because it's just too easy to contort that. Yeah, and the idea behind
it's not imminent.
Exactly. It's the sort of philosophy behind the exception is that you're sort of riling people up. They're getting very emotional and they're acting without having the opportunity to reflect. I think the fact that something is occurring online is by nature like not within the exception. I also don't, I like to narrow free speech exceptions because I think they can be too easily used against us. Like they claim from the other side claims that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is a call to genocide Jews, and therefore, people can be kicked out of school for saying it. And many people were kicked out of school and lost their jobs for saying it. So I think we have to be a little bit careful. I mean, of course, you can say that saying kill all those, Muslims is not the same thing. And it's not as saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. But I also think it's in the interests of sort of civil liberties, it's best to keep those exceptions very narrow. And, you can hold people accountable for their rhetoric in other ways. I mean, in a sane society, she would be screaming at her wall or exactly. Or her cats or her TV or whatever. But we don't live in a sane world right now.
No, I honestly, I am hopeful that I don't ever run into her. And I know that there's other people that feel that way. So who knows? You know, I mean, at some point, I think that people do get what they have coming.
I think so. And look, I mean, I don't think she's a happy person, if it makes anybody feel better. I tell myself that when she's clearly a very miserable person. So
she made me the target of her ire. You know, she decided she wanted to have me lose my job. She got what she wanted. Okay. You know, I said to Jen when we first started doing this back in, right after October 7th, I said, I'll go with you. I will commit to this. And I did. And I realized that there were consequences that would come with it potentially. And at the time we were small potatoes, but, eventually we grew over the last year. And eventually one of her people caught into what we were talking about and decided to make it their mission that I am going to end you, essentially, is kind of what they do. They have these little these pet projects that they take on. They did it last week when Rashida Tlaib came down to South Florida. They're like, we're going to ruin your day. And so as long as she has the backing of the president, she's going to be able to get away with this. But there is going to come a point in the not too distant future where she's not going to have this power anymore. And she is going to pay for it dearly when that happens.
Oh, yeah.
She's not smart enough. She's not rich enough. She's not influential enough to avoid what's going to come for her.
And she sure as shit ain't pretty enough. I mean, I don't want to make it about looks, but if you're going to be a horrible, evil person, it really is going to amplify your not so good features. That's what I think happens. I think when you're evil on the inside, it like corrodes you on the outside.
Well, she also hired like a really bad plastic surgeon. So
well, there's that.
There's that too.
And there's that.
Well, let's bring it home.
I want to know what the current status is
of Max's case. Yeah. So sorry, I'll try to keep it out of the weeds. So in addition to raising First Amendment problems, also Fourth Amendment problems. The Fourth Amendment law when it comes to searches of cell phones at the border or electronic devices at the border is very complicated, and it hasn't actually been settled by the Supreme Court. So when you're crossing coming in or out of the country, you basically have no Fourth Amendment rights when it comes to your luggage. I don't agree with that. I actually don't think that's a good reading of the Fourth Amendment, but that was decided, many, many decades before we were all born. So that battle was lost before we could even fight it. The justification is essentially that the government has unfettered ability to ensure that people don't bring contraband or explosives or that kind of thing into the country. I still think, anyway. I still think there should be some.
Fourth Amendment should not stop at the border. And definitely for citizens. Definitely.
Yes, I would actually say that's that's one of the areas I'll say there's a fair distinction to be made. Like non-resident visitors who have never been in the country. I mean, people have all sorts of motivations. But for citizens, yes. I mean, I think you could argue for some kind of diminished protections. Maybe you don't need a warrant, like reasonable suspicion or something. But just that they can search your luggage for any or no reason, I think is not consistent with the Fourth Amendment. But set that aside. The justifications for being able to search your luggage don't really apply to cell phones because, they can't really contain large quantities of fentanyl. I mean, they can contain small quantities of fentanyl, I guess, but not kilos. They probably can't contain explosives, although maybe I shouldn't say that after the pager attack in Lebanon. But, you're not going to be able to bring a whole bunch of bombs into the country. And certainly they could be searched for explosive devices without having to read the contents of the phone.
Yes.
And there was a Supreme Court case called United States versus Riley in 2014. That was a very, very good decision where the Supreme Court said basically all circumstances in the United States, you need a warrant to search someone's cell phone because of the extreme privacy interests in modern smartphones. It basically contains all your thoughts, all your communications, and your thoughts in the form of your communications with others, your ChatGPT searches, your whatever, location data. There's just so much in there that's so personal. Now, the courts throughout the country have reached different conclusions about what exactly is needed to search someone's cell phone when they come into the country or out of the country. The Fourth Circuit, where Dulles Airport is, where Max flew into, has settled on, I think, a kind of ridiculous law, but it is the law right now, a reading of the law, which says Customs and Border Protection officers can search your phone manually without any individualized suspicion or warrant. So they can flip through your phone quickly because they think maybe you look like a pedophile or something, I don't know, and have child porn on your phone. But they can't do a forensic search. So they can't hook it up to devices and try to recover lost information or get large quantities of data. I don't understand this reading of the Fourth. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. If they have a reason to believe you've committed a crime, then they can go get a warrant, like they would in any other situation. You know, that's what I think the law should be, not what the law is. But either way, because the officers were very clear that they attempted to do a forensic search of Max's phone, it violated the Fourth Amendment. So in any event, we filed a motion under Rule of Criminal Procedure, little known rule, that you can file to get your stuff back if the government takes it. So we filed it about a month ago, requesting all the phones and all of the information that they took from, any information they took from them. So they had confiscated them and they still had them a week later. So they had said they would return them like the next day. Max never heard. So we filed this motion. We got into court. We filed the motion the next day. They called Max, returned his phones to him, and then argued the case was moot because they had returned the phones and they claimed that they had tried to get data off the phones, but they couldn't. So they didn't have anything. And we said, like, we don't really
believe that, right? Like, we should just believe you. Okay.
And we were like, we don't really believe you. We want to know, you know, we need some evidence. Like, we want to be able to depose the people who handled these phones. We want to know exactly what procedures were performed. We want to know if there was any surveillance data. We want to know if there were attempts made to get information from the cloud. They didn't claim that they weren't trying to get information from companies, for example. The fact that they made attempts, I mean, I think is disturbing. Like, they knew he was a journalist. They were clearly trying to get information out of his phone, possibly about his sources. We're speculating based on an anonymous tip that I don't know how much validity there is to it, but it would sort of be consistent with what happened. So the court, we got into court. The judge actually agreed with us and said, this search was very problematic under the Fourth Amendment. And you guys weren't, you know, I don't think this is enough information. You guys should go fight this out and then get back to me if you have a conflict. So we're currently like in a discovery fight with them. We're also going to file, I think, like, I never say that I'm going to file a lawsuit before I file it, but it's like being filed right now. So I think it's okay. We're filing a lawsuit requesting, like, a real lawsuit, because this was just an emergency motion requesting declaratory and injunctive relief under the First, Fourth Amendments Privacy Protection Act, which applies to journalists, and the Administrative Procedure Act, asking for Customs and Border Patrol's directive, which permits these searches to be enjoined entirely.
Yeah, it's outrageous, but I mean, we know that we lost 4, 5, and 6 with the Patriot Act, right? I mean, they've been hanging on by a thread, those amendments, and it's extra for anybody, of course, who's speaking truth to power, and people like Max, and it's especially for people that are journalists and lawyers. We had that with what was the attorney's name that we had from Michigan, the guy who represented the Michigan students, University of Michigan students that got, we had him on our show, really nice guy, really great. He First Amendment lawyer. And
from the guy from the Sugar Law Center, is his name John something?
No, he's I want to say, is he Palestinian? Is he, I forget what he's oh my God. Oh. But the whole point was they did that to him when he came back into the country, when he flew back in, and they wanted his phone, and he has all his client stuff on there. And we're like, well, that's privileged information. So then they wanted him to make a list of what was privileged on his phone. Like, he could possibly do that. Like, could you possibly make a list of what's privileged on your phone as a lawyer? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? And so that's the kind of stuff that they're doing. And I think journalists and lawyers are specifically getting targeted because they know that, and this whole idea, and for people who don't understand what we're talking about, like, when you come in at the airport, it's considered a border, and you don't have the same rights at borders that you do inside the country, even if you're a citizen. That's what we're talking about. I got to bring it back to basics. But
Yeah. I know. I need to, like, tone down the legalese.
No, it's just people don't know where we're starting from. So, like, for example, it's hard to know now because I feel like our Fourth Amendment rights have been so eroded in so many different ways. I mean, you could just be declared an enemy combatant and then you have no rights, right? So, I mean, there's just so many different workarounds now. But essentially, yes, the idea is even before all that, we did have less rights at borders. That's the just the way it is.
Yeah.
Jenin, my last question before you go has to do with these unprecedented lack of legal circumstances that we're facing, the erosion of basic rights and, just norms being completely decimated. I mean, it was probably inevitable, and we've been dancing on the string for far too long, but the Trump administration, Trump in particular, just blown it completely out of the water because he just doesn't care. In many ways, it was kind of like the ripping off the Band-Aid. My question is, are these the new precedents being set, or is there any way to kind of pull back from it as we go forward?
Well, I mean, that's why I do what I do, is to try to create some better precedents. There are a lot of bad judicial decisions, but the courts give me some hope. It's the only branch of our government that I think is like semi-functional and occasionally, does the right thing. I mean, the executive and Congress are just completely hopeless. But a lot of the district court decisions, for instance, saying that you couldn't deport immigrants because they were pro-Palestine, those were very good decisions. Unfortunately, they've mostly been reversed by the circuit courts, not on sort of the substance of that principle, but on jurisdictional grounds. It's just, I think they're just kind of being cowardly. They're saying, like, we don't want to deal with this, basically, but effectively saying you have to go through your immigration proceedings before you can seek recourse in the federal courts, which is exceedingly problematic because the immigration process can take years. And if you're being put in deportation proceedings because of your speech, the whole time you're going to be afraid to speak. So it's a severe First Amendment issue. And it affects other people, of course, then other non-citizens are afraid to speak. So in any event, yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag when it comes to the courts, but they're not totally hopeless. Like this judge in Eastern District of Virginia, who I think was quite reasonable. I do think things I don't think things are going to get better in this country, generally speaking. I think we're headed towards some kind of,
You could say
I don't know, maybe revolution. I mean, hopefully something that's better and not worse on the other side. I mean, I can't tell you how scary I find the flock cameras all over. And Flock is only one of the brands, by the way. As we know, there are like others who are doing the same thing. The idea that in some cities,
you've actually opened up a very interesting additional sidebar before we conclude for the evening. In conclusion, aside from the work that you're obviously doing as it relates to the issues with Israel, the issues with the flock cameras, and more specifically, the surveillance centers, they are not data centers, they are surveillance centers, let's call them what they are. Do you see legal precedent here in which the people can fight back against the ruling class? Because this is a ruling class initiative, period.
Yeah, I mean, I have my eyes on a case potentially. A lot of my clients right now are actually not even Arab American, even though we're the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. But so many people now are being affected by the Israel lobby's attempts to silence people and to destroy the lives of people who don't toe the line on Israel. That we want to defend our allies, not just people who are, ethnically Arab or culturally Arab. So I don't restrict my client base to that. And I also always say that whenever our civil liberties start to get infringed on, Arab Americans are going to be like the ones to experience it the most heavily impacted. Well, Black Americans too, various minority groups, but maybe Arab Americans the most. So I'm looking for a case to challenge the use of flock cameras. I think it would be very difficult to bring one without, I think something bad has to happen to someone because they've been used. And an ideal plaintiff, is not one who actually was going to commit pedophilia and got caught by a flock camera. That's not going to be a great case to challenge the use of flock cameras. You want someone who's getting in big trouble for something either, just mildly illegal, like maybe taking pot over, from whatever, or something that's actually not illegal at all, like going to a pro-Palestine protest. And we know that they're probably going to be used for that kind of thing. So I definitely have my eyes on that issue as one to challenge the use of these cameras. I think it's just shocking that Americans are accepting the fact that in so many cities now, your every move can just be surveilled and logged, and yeah.
It's
another reason for people to move out to the rural, because we don't have flock cameras out here, but
yeah,
which is very nice. I have been seeing a lot of people taking it upon themselves to deconstruct flock cameras, and I appreciate that. Then there's the guy that sets up his chair every day at the one that's, I guess, near where he lives, and he has this giant protest sign that blocks the flock camera, and he just sits there blocking the flock camera. But I mean, the theory of that is what is going to ultimately be what takes them down, because we're seeing arguments in city commissions. We're seeing people take a stand against them to some extent, and there will be a case for you at some point. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Hopefully, before we've totally become victims of the surveillance state and we can no longer fight back, but we'll see.
I know we already are, but I think that this is an armed country.
Yeah.
And this is a revolution. Again, Jen keeps saying it constantly. We're already in the revolution. It's already begun.
Yeah.
It's not a question of whether it's going to happen. It's
a
matter of how far it goes. And, this administration is making it abundantly clear that they're doing exactly what every empire in the history of the world that was falling would eventually end up doing. British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, loot the treasury, steal all the lands, surveil all the people, until eventually the people fight back. And this will not end without a revolution.
No. I mean, they think they can, put fortresses, live behind fortresses and protect themselves. And then they, Glenn Greenwald was so eloquently talking about this on Tucker. I don't know if you saw that, but it was one of the better podcasts I heard, where he was talking about how, the whole surveillance thing is really part of an attempt by the elite to protect themselves, because they know that they're screwing us all over and eventually we're not going to accept it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to the Peter Thiels of the world initially, but the Laura Loomers of the world, they're going to be in trouble. So let's keep fighting the good fight. Last thoughts before you go. Anything you want to plug, share, guys. Links are going to be in the description for Jenin. Obviously, we really appreciate you coming on tonight. Last thoughts.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you'd like to support our work, I think we're one of the only organizations, if not the only one, who's sort of proactively taking on the Israel lobby's attempts to diminish our civil liberties in a proactive way. So if you would like to support our work, you can do so at adc.org. We need the help so we can take on more cases, because we have way more than we can handle. So I want to hire more lawyers and, escalate our caseload, or increase our caseload, I should say. And you can find me on Twitter at JeninYoUnesESQ.
You're looking for more lawyers, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe someday, Jen. Maybe someday.
Why are you always wanting to send me to do other projects? Like, you're always trying to find work for me. I'm not looking for a job. I'm also not qualified.
But you would be great at it.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure.
Well, maybe it would depend, and it would also depend on where I would need to be licensed. So, that's that.
It doesn't. Well, we can have that conversation offline.
Ironically, I'm licensed in Florida. Ironically, I'm licensed in Florida.
Well, it'd actually be handy, because we have 2 lawsuits there now. We're also defending, we brought one on behalf of Raquel Pacheco. Do you know her, the woman who a video of her went viral. The cops went to her house because she criticized Mayor Minor in my city of Miami Beach and his dehumanization.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The cops showed up at her front door.
Yeah, so we're suing. We sued them. We're in the middle of discovery right now, because Minor is claiming that he didn't send the cops to her house, even though there was a correspondence with the police chief where he said, per our conversation, I think Raquel Pacheco's post can be characterized as incitement. Don't you, Chief? Don't you think we should do something about it? I'm sort of semi exaggerating, but it was basically that.
Yeah.
And then half an hour later, cops show up at her doorstep. But Mayor Minor had nothing to do with it.
What a time to be alive, Jenin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenin.
Thank you.
Be in touch.
I have to answer Tony McAfan. Tony McAfan, I was 32 weeks pregnant when I took my first bar exam. So there was no single fun female lawyer life. There was working with a baby in childcare and a husband working 120 hours a week as a medical intern.
So, in other words, no sleep, no such thing.
In other words, there was no fun Ally McBeal sort of life.
It's not like that, despite how they, a very successful TV show ended up being. With that being said, perfect transition. Thanks to Jenin for putting it out there.
I almost couldn't make it through talking about Loomer without putting her on the hit list, but I really didn't want to light up in front of Jenin. So I've been holding out. So give me a reason.
Well, as we pointed out, a very powerful podcast took place this weekend between Tucker Carlson and Glenn Greenwald. And the conversation ranged from a lot of different areas. But the one that he really hit upon is the fact that if you think if you're still being fooled by this system, this inevitable collapse of a system, that you think you're still trying to reform or infiltrate, we are going to do this in a two-parter because this is going to bring us to Ro Khanna. So here is the initial setup to the conversation that Ro had with Katie Halper.
No, Tucker, you see this with Trump and the MAGA movement, and you've definitely seen it with a lot of these supposedly radical candidates who became adjacent to the Democratic Party, is you can think that you're taking over these parties in order to commandeer them and their power to change their dogma to yours. But infinitely more likely for so many reasons is that it will commandeer you and it will suck you in and it will severely limit, even if you have radical ideas or impulses or outside of the norm or anti-establishment thoughts, will severely limit your ability to advocate them and to impose them.
That is the most bracing fact. And I'm glad you said that, but I'm also sort of sorry you said that because it's so depressing. Do you see, is there anywhere, and I almost hate to use the word radical because I think this is also reasonable and pro-human, don't fight wars if you don't have to. Don't, lie to your own population. These are not radical. They should be foundational beliefs. But anyway, they're radical in this context of our politics.
Exactly.
But do you see any movement, actual reform movement rising out of the betrayal of MAGA and the corruption of everyone else?
The problem is that our system of government has been constantly fortified each decade to make it harder and harder to exist outside of the duopoly. Yeah. And the reason is obvious, that all politicians are either members of the Republican or Democratic Party, and one of their most common interests is to make sure that you only have the Democratic and Republican Party, and that it's virtually impossible for anyone to compete in a meaningful way with it. And so,
can we just stop and address that for a second? Can we address the fact that regardless of what Tucker is going to try, regardless of what anybody else is going to try, you will never, in this current incarnation of the American experiment, you will never be able to create another system within the electoral system, because the Democrats and Republicans, when push comes to shove, will always unite to crush any type of a third-party movement, any type of an alternative to this current system. The only way out of it is a revolution. Jen?
Well, they're the same. It's the corporate party. The corporate party, which is, we need to, I like how the Iranian leadership has been referring to it as the Epstein class, because that's what we're talking about here. And the Epstein class is in control, and it doesn't matter what party. The parties are just the circuses of the bread and circuses. It's silly. It's really silly. And so the idea, and Tucker looks so serious, like he's learning something new. And I think that, he's an opportunist, but this isn't news to me. It's all silly. Just like you're not going to get any changes from the boot on your neck with the boot on your neck. The person who's doing that isn't going to work with you.
No.
That just doesn't make any sense. So that's like trying to reform the police. You're not going to do that. You can't do that. Just like you're not going to change the duopoly. It's not going to happen.
So every law that gets passed, every time there's election laws rewritten, every time it's in the direction of making it increasingly more difficult for any kind of independent party or movement or third party that wants to remain independent of both parties to have any meaningful success.
Now, we bring this up because a primary topic of conversation that came up was both MAGA and what that has resulted in with the Republican Party, obviously the split now being the growing movement of America First and what that's going to look like, which I think is going to have more of a middle split between progressives and libertarians in particular. We'll see if it comes to fruition. And then, of course, you have the DSA, which is their attempt to take over the Democratic Party as it stands right now. We see what's happening with the pumping up. In fact, Jen, right before we went live, or right after we went live, I should say, the DSA dropped a message basically saying that they are pushing for AOC to run for president. So that's not a surprise. This is something that we fully anticipated. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Something we fully anticipated. The only other person who's going to run for president that is going to garner any type of support, if you want to call it that, is Ro Khanna. And he has been given ample opportunity to distinguish himself from AOC, and he has had the opportunity to do it, and he's failed every time. Miserably, I might add. He sat down for an interview with Katie Halper, and she kind of gave him an opportunity to have a mulligan. And this is how he responded to her inquiries.
The House and Senate have included such a proposal in the annual defense policy bill, laying the groundwork for melding, Freudian slip, U.S. and Israeli defense and intelligence capabilities in profound ways that some critics find alarming, end quote. You are one of those critics, Ro, I imagine. What should people know about the development, and what do you find alarming?
I was one of 3 people in the Armed Services Committee to oppose the Section 219. That would basically be an end run against the Leahy law in foreign sales. You now basically are saying that Israel and America can jointly produce all these weapons. So you don't even need Congress. Once there's a memorandum of understanding, if there's joint production, we are integrated with the Israeli military, and our elected officials lose the power to really change that. So we need to strip this out of the National Defense Authorization. When the American public wants us to do with less with Israel, only the United States Congress would say, let's do more. But this is a Netanyahu ruse to say, okay, we don't want.
All right. I don't know why this clip is so long. It could be half of this. We don't even need this portion of it, quite honestly. This is silly. I don't know what he is blabbing about. Okay. He's pathetic. This whole part is, I don't know how long this goes on for. What does he want? He wants a gold star. You want a gold star, Ro, because you thought maybe it wasn't a good idea to merge our militaries together, even though you still defend them having an Iron Dome, and even though you don't defend Palestinians having a right to defend themselves. See, I don't want to hear this. This wasn't what we were going to talk about. So forward to where he gets into where
he's going to get into it in a second. Just
okay, because this is a little bit
aid, but let's just have joint production on the weapons.
And what kind of increased integration is this? Because as many people have pointed out, they're already quite integrated. So what makes this new?
Well, this has a joint.
Switching gears, although it's related, Michigan, obviously this was shocking to some people, disturbing to some people, but there was that primary election of Abdul al-Sayed, despite being outspent by some accounts 11-1 by AIPAC, and a related pro-Israeli dark money PAC. So is this a bellwether race? And what do you think it's signaling about where voters are going and how it is being received? And how is it being received in Washington, D.C.?
Medicare for all, a willingness to tax billionaire wealth. And so this is showing that the progressives can win. I mean, the knock on progressives was always, oh, can you win in swing states? Well, yes, we can. And we're going to, the energy of the party is with us.
Right. Now, do you think, by the way, on a related note, that AIPAC should be forced to register under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
I do not.
Okay, strike one.
I do not.
I do not. Why? Because they're Americans? So if it was the American Chinese Action Committee and they were all American of Chinese descent, but they were wanting to create legislation beneficial to China, would you feel that way? I think not.
Yeah.
I don't take any money from AIPAC, and AIPAC has attacked me, I think, more than any member of Congress.
There's your
But my
second gold
view
star.
is that these are American citizens who are advocating for a viewpoint that I strongly disagree with. I don't take any money for them, obviously. I banter with them or parry their blows all the time. But I still would meet with people in my district who I know they're American citizens. They're hardworking. They don't vote for me. But
you just gave the whole game away. What you've effectively said, Ro, is that I represent, and Ro does represent, I believe, the third or fourth most affluent district in the entire country. His district is South San Francisco. It is extremely wealthy, extremely affluent, and extremely Zionist in many pockets. And this man wants to be president of the United States. So as a result, he is not going to ruffle any of the pro-Israel donors' feathers by suggesting something as simple as maybe you should do what every other foreign interest group has to do in the United States, and that's register under FARA. But no, let's continue to prove that people think that the Jews are chosen people and that they are above reproach. They could do whatever they want. And in this case, when it comes to supporting the state of Israel, they can continue to pump as much money into the system as humanly possible. And that is not even addressing the genocide. That is only addressing the sheer corruption of their ideology and their institutional control over our country. You add the genocide into this equation, and he still wants to play this game. Why would anybody think that still playing this game makes any sense? As public domain says, Ro is positioning. Positioning for what? What are you trying to do at this point?
Toe a line. That's all they can do. They suck. He sucks. And this interview is this segment is just too long. But
if they reach out, that's their right. That's a democracy. And, you know, I go everywhere and talk to anyone in the pursuit of practicing democracy.
How enlightened of you.
You very bravely went on a fact-finding mission last month to the
22-year-olds with guns compromised. And we cannot
and then he came back.
You maintain that Israel should still have access to U.S. weapons, though limited to defensive weapons. And again, this caught the attention of a lot of people. So I want to know, do you maintain your position that Israel should have legal access to U.S. weapons after and while they're committing what you've called a genocide?
Well, what I said is zero aid, zero military sales that are.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's this thing in politics called obfuscation. And that is exactly what Ro is doing here. He wants to throw, well, you know, I said they can't have this and they can't have that, and they also can't have this, but they can have their weapons. So he's setting it up to suggest that I'm really against these people, but when the real rubber hits the road, then you understand how he's never going to cross that line.
And this is now Katie is actually giving him an opportunity to kind of look a little bit, save a little face from how bad he looked when Jeremy Scahill ripped him a new asshole. And instead, he's just doubling down on it. So he is just appearing so pitiful and so cowardly. And it's just, yeah, keep it up, bro. Keep it up.
Weapons used to kill civilians. I'm a co-sponsor on the Drop the Bombs, Stop the Bombs Act. I've supported all of Senator Sanders' amendments. But the question I was asked is, would you have a global arms embargo on Israel getting Iron Dome? And I said no for two reasons.
I don't care what your reasons are.
No, but but let him say, because Katie then makes a very good follow-up question.
One, I don't think America should be enforcing it. Like, are we literally going to be stopping other countries from selling Israel Iron Dome? That's getting into a foreign entanglement.
And that's every other country.
Secondly, they're Israeli lives there and American lives, 700,000 Americans, and I'm for protecting civilian life, whether that is Palestinian, whether it's Indian, whether it's Jordanian, whether it's Israeli. But what I have clearly said is that I'm opposed to any military sales to kill civilians, and I'm opposed to all aid.
But I mean, I understand the defensive nature in theory of the Iron Dome, but you know, given that you yourself have said that they are committing a genocide, isn't, like, if you use an analogy, like a guy who is stabbing people, walking down the street, stabbing people, if we give that guy a shield, even if it's defensive, like we are now complicit in his criminality, right? So isn't that what we would be doing? Selling the guy a shield to continue the analogy?
I believe that the Israeli government has committed a genocide, but that doesn't mean that the 700,000 Americans living there or the Israeli civilians living there, including Israeli Arabs, should suffer death if their missiles launched there. And
the percentage of Israelis, American or not, living in Israel proper is in pretty much the 85 to 90 percentile that not only agree with the Netanyahu Milikowski government, there is a large majority proportion of that voting demographic that doesn't think he's gone far enough.
Oh, yeah.
The only way Netanyahu is going to be removed, and I use that term loosely, from office is if somebody even more psychotic than he is put in the position of authority.
Well, that's what we like to do. That's our MO. So that's what we did in Iran. We want to take out the more moderate people and put in the more psychopathic people. That's what we do everywhere we go. So why? But it's amazing to me. And he's a smart guy. Ro Khanna is not an idiot. You know, if we were watching Alex, it's hard because she's not that bright. He's bright. So I don't understand how he can sit there and thread the needle between supporting the Iron Dome as a defensive weapon, but not see how ultimately it's offensive against the Palestinians who have no recourse. Because who are they defending themselves with that Iron Dome? Not the Palestinians. The Palestinians aren't armed. So I don't understand how he is able to do this other than he's sinister because he's not stupid. So then he must be nefarious, correct?
Or he doesn't have any guts.
Or he's been threatened.
Oh, I'm sure he's been threatened, obviously.
Well, maybe they made him an offer he can't refuse. I don't know.
Whatever it isn't going to be one person. It's going to be millions that will ultimately take down the system. That's just the way it's going to be.
I also don't understand what the U.S. would do in terms of, like, would we want to have American warships basically trying to block any missiles from coming into Israel? I mean, I don't think we should be going into wars over this. I think we should be pushing for a peace process, and we should be recognizing a Palestinian state. We should be stopping our aid. Today, Yonah Levy was indicted. His group is the one who detained me. We should be calling for extremist settlers to be arrested, destroying outposts. There are a lot of things that we can do that would, in my view, have an immediate impact on Palestinian lives.
What you just saw is an interview with somebody who does not have the courage of his convictions. He's not willing to stand on any particular principle that would in any way jeopardize his position. And that's the difference between somebody like Ro Khanna and somebody like Thomas Massie. Ro Khanna is not willing to be politically martyred. Massie was, and he lost his position. Now, I imagine he's going to come back and fight even harder, but we will see what ultimately ends up happening as a result. I think Jen's connection bonked out, but she'll be back in a minute, I hope. But let's be realistic here. You know, Ro is going to run for president, and he probably has had conversations with the type of people that could help fund his campaign, and he knows where the line is, and he's not going to cross it. If that's enough for somebody who's a Democrat or a Democratic voter, okay. But remember this, the Democratic Party has super delegates in their presidential primary process, and that's not going away. And they are corporate sponsors of the party.
I'm on my Starlink. We'll see what happens. I'm having this. The storm came through. We lost power for a second. The internet came back on, but some issues. So I'm giving you the heads up.
All right. Well, here's hoping for the best. Point is,
I'm on Starlink, and you know, Elon's not necessarily a fan of ours, so we'll see.
Elon is definitely not a fan of ours, but that's okay. never drove a Tesla. Ever.
No, Ro Khanna did not mess with me, but I did miss my bong hit, so I got to take it.
Well, at least you were able to get that down. Ro is not going to be the fighter that you think he is. He is certainly if I could say one positive thing about Ro Khanna, he is much more presidential than AOC could ever be. If there is a person who's
he's not patently unqualified like she is. She is so ridiculously out of her element, and just so unqualified. He's not unqualified. He's just mealy-mouthed coward. And that is just, it's not going to sell. It's not going to sell. It doesn't have, there's not enough charisma to overcome lack of policy, and there's not enough there. So it's going to fall flat. Alex is going to fall flat for completely other reasons, because she has no substance and she's not that bright. She also can't speak off from the hip. So that's a problem for someone who's running for office. If you can't speak without teleprompter or a speechwriter, you're out of your element. You're out of your
element, Donnie.
Yeah.
And you are not the walrus.
No. No.
There is a reason why we hammer Ro as hard as we do, because he is the best hope that the Democrats, the progressive Democrats have in this moment. But you have to remember,
he's not a progressive.
No.
And I agree, Lila. That's what I say all the time. She will be Kamala level fail. Actually, I think it'll be even uglier, because Kamala wasn't liked ever to begin with. So people liked Alex to begin with.
Like I said, Alex is running to be the prom queen, and at the same time thinks that that means becoming president of the United States, the Madam President of the United States. Let me assure you, the first Madam President of the United States is not going to talk and act like she does. That being said, the reason why we are as hypercritical as we are, and we need to be, is because of people like Ben Gvir.
I disagreed with the Prime Minister. I think we need to carry out targeted killings in Gaza.
Okay, before I play that, I like to do a little bit of a segue, right? Like we just finished talking about one thing. So you do that. So I want to at least give credit. So this clip that I have, you guys may have seen this clip of Ben Gvir being the disgusting pig that he is, but this is credit to Judging Freedom and Judge Napolitano, because this clip is from his show and they dub it so you hear it in English, which makes it easier for the people that are just listening to the show.
I disagreed with the Prime Minister. I think we need to carry out targeted killings in Gaza every night. Take out 30 or 40, not just those who pose an immediate threat to you. There are people there who shouldn't be alive. They shouldn't be living. They are not people.
Now, you didn't get a chance to see the person in question that was interviewing him, and the guy's name doesn't matter, but the point is he agreed wholeheartedly with what Gvir was saying.
Of course.
Which is why
do you think that Gvir would be speaking to someone that would be contrarian?
Well, no, of course not. Now, here, I believe this is the non-captioned, and I want you to just see what the person who's interviewing him, what he was saying.
בקשה אישית, ואני מסתכל לך באמת בתוך הלבן של העיניים, כבוד השר, תיתן לי להיות זה שתולה אותם, אני לא רוצה.
You see what he said right there?
He says that, let me be the one who hangs them. Yeah.
These people are sick.
This is not a salvageable society. And that's something I wanted to talk about, going back to the Ro Khanna thing for a second. He is still in the two-state mentality.
Yep.
He's still trying to sell that shit, but he knows damn well that that's not possible. So then that makes him disingenuous at best. But that liberal Zionism is actually more of a problem than people like Ben Gvir. Just like I find the Democrats are more of a problem than the Republicans, because I would just rather my wolves be wolves. Okay, yes. A liberal Zionist is an oxymoron. You cannot have a two-state solution with one of those states being a Jewish ethno-supremacy state. That is not allowed to exist anymore. It's just not. And this is what happens. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And, you know, now it's not enough to just stop the genocide. This is done. The whole world sees it. So
if there is a person who is doing their job the way that they should be in elected government, it is Mayor Mamdani of New York. But he has one particularly large blind spot, and that is the New York Police Department Commissioner. And
this has always been my issue. This has been our issue with him from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And this is case in point. So apparently,
so you have on the one hand, you have the wolf, which is Gvir, and then you have the sheep, which is somebody like Tisch, who tries to present herself as this law and order considerate person. But let me assure you, the irony should not be lost on anybody for what she's saying and how she appears.
Okay, can we set it up though? Can we please just, we've got to do a better job, okay? Just go into stuff like everyone knows.
Hey, Jen, I got an idea. Why don't you set up every story? I'll let you do
No, but I just think we could introduce a clip and what the background is before you show it. So this, for people who are not aware, Luigi Mangione had pled guilty. And this is Police Commissioner Tisch talking about that outcome. Okay, and just notice everything about her.
Who idolize Luigi Mangione, I say this: violence is not a cause, murder is not a message, and
yeah, it is, and it was a clearly effective one. Violence is a cause. It is. So
the idea that she is making this statement with that symbol around her neck. I mean, at this point, it might as well be a swastika.
It is. It actually is. And and honestly, as somebody who was raised Jewish, I've never, ever particularly liked the Star of David. I've never owned a Star of David. I had a Chai once and a Mazel once. Like, I've had other things that I've worn, like stuff, and I've never liked the Star of David.
Well, Lizzie Savetsky has ruined a Chai for you as well.
Well, a lot of it has ruined a lot of it for me, but her saying that we can let it finish because I have a lot to say about her comments about violence. Actually, will you start it over and let it just play through?
And to those who idolize Luigi Mangione, I say this: violence is not a cause, murder is not a message, and a killer is certainly not a hero. Now I'd like to introduce the FBI's Assistant Director in Charge for the New York Field Office, Jim Varnicle.
Yeah. Okay, so violence is a cause. Violence is the reason that Luigi did what he did. Violence is what Brian Thompson was doing every single day to hundreds and thousands of people, right? Hundreds of thousands of people. And denial of healthcare is violence. The only difference is it's what the elite Epstein class considers acceptable violence. That's fine to them because that doesn't affect them. She doesn't care about that. You can kill hundreds of thousands of people with a stroke of the pen, but the level of violence that Luigi Mangione did will not be permitted. Not only is it permitted, lady, but you're going to start seeing it so much more. And it is effective. It's very effective. Look at what happened when Brian Thompson got shot. Scared the shit out of a whole bunch of CEOs. I'd say that's pretty effective. I'd say the fact that you're standing here feeling the need to have a press conference about this makes it that it's pretty fucking effective.
Can we also just address for a second the so-called chosen people? This is somebody who is very likely the product.
You got to take her down. She's so hideous. I feel like her neck and her head are one in a way that it's just, it's almost like cartoonish. I don't understand.
When you do not reproduce outside of your first or second cousin genopool,
I don't know.
This is how you end up looking like. This is how the Rothschilds look the way that they do.
Absolutely. And to say he's not a hero, you know what? He isn't to her class, right? To the Epstein class, of course not. He's the rebellion.
Colin, pull the graphic, please.
We know a Mockingjay when we see one.
Oh, absolutely. And he is the Mockingjay. But again, this is the biggest reason. If you still need to understand why we would save $1 trillion a year and get everybody covered, and it would be just like every other developed country on earth, this is why we don't. This is just a short list of all the money that never makes it where it belongs. Again, when we talk about the for-profit middlemen in between us and our doctors, this is exactly what we mean. These people are making money off of nothing.
No. They're making money off of other people suffering.
Well, yes, but they're not providing a service. They are providing, how would you describe it? They are providing.
How I would describe it is they're psychopathic parasites. Now, these people here should be like part of America's Most Wanted. See, like if we lived in a world where we actually looked at violence from a global perspective, how it really ought to be looked at, these people would be the ones that are incarcerated for their crimes. These people, each one of these people kills more people in an hour than probably there are people on death row have killed in their whole lives.
Oh, yeah.
Because these people are killing hundreds of thousands of people every day, purposefully and knowingly. And I bet that there are paper trails that could show that, just like there was for United with Brian Thompson, where they knew that their AI system was denying 90% of cases and that it was inaccurate in 90% of the cases that it denied. And they knew it. That's intentional. So to say, for this bitch to stand up there and act like violence isn't the cause. Yes, violence is exactly the cause. And the level of violence is determined by the oppressor, not the oppressed. Yeah. So that would be people like Brian Thompson and these sick fucks.
$66 million a year for Stephen Hemsley, the CEO of United Health. This is a year. $66 million a year. That's a lot of dead bodies. That's a lot of sick people. And let me also say this. Their goal is not to kill you. Their goal is to keep you as close to death as humanly possible for as long as possible, because that's where you make the most amount of money. That's what it's
obviously you don't want to cure diseases, but you want to have lots of expensive treatments for diseases.
Correct.
That is the way you do it. It's infuriating on so many levels. And then that bitch stands there like some holier than thou, like she's got that bitch. Unbelievable. And yes, I do hold that against Zoran. I do. I did from the beginning. I do even more so now. And where is he in this? Why isn't he there? Where is he in this?
The great news is, if there is a silver lining here between the healthcare system.
Exactly. Yeah. That.
Well, because they truly do believe that they're chosen. They really do believe that, again, this was what Jenin was talking about earlier in the show about the dehumanization of the Palestinian people. It makes it easier to watch them blow up if you think that they're subhuman to begin with. That's where the propaganda kicks into play. That's where the propaganda kicks in with somebody like Tisch, who makes the statement that she makes. That's how somebody like Gvir is revered, no pun intended, in a place like Israel. But maybe it isn't going to last as long as they think.
That's not why there's that first of all, she can't be the token Jew. There's got to be a ton of other Jews in his administration, neither here nor there. But
can we also point out the fact that you pulled up an account with a handle that calls himself the Austrian painter? Don't think I haven't noticed that a lot of that shit hasn't been popping up lately. And this is exactly what the Zionists want. This is exactly what they want, because this is what allows them to maintain their power structure. Because when people turn it into, maybe we should just put them in the ovens. Yes, this is how they
the token. Well, my point is that first of all, she's not the token Jew. I haven't done an entire demographic inventory of his administration, but you can't, like, I don't know, sneeze without like being near a Jew, right? Like I don't even know what you would say. They're all over New York. I'm sure there's more of them in his administration.
The overwhelming majority population of the Jews in the United States live in New York. In fact,
right.
I think there's 10 million Jews in New York. 2 million of them live in New York.
No, Doron did not pick her. She was already there.
That's Adams.
But he needed to ask her to not be there. He needed to clean house to really show that he was serious about being, different. And he didn't do so in that very critical area. So no, he didn't have to keep her. And then he supposedly demoted her, but it wasn't a demotion. What he did was he added a position for somebody to sort of be an intermediary between him and her.
Correct.
So, right. So because he doesn't want to deal with her. But whatever the reason why he kept her, he did. And she's grotesque.
Yes. The great news is that the noticing by the average American is starting to come to fruition.
What's the biggest threat to America right now?
Donald Trump.
What's the biggest threat to America?
Israel. Muslims. Israel. When the politicians are kissing a wall, that means that we're no longer America first.
What's the biggest threat to America?
Israel. Our whole government is ran by Israel. Israel is our main problem.
AIPAC. It's Israel. It's Israel.
Threat to America? AIPAC.
We're sending all our foreign aid to Israel. It's not good for our country, man. And also Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal.
What do you think is the biggest threat to America?
Donald Trump. The biggest threat to America? Donald Trump.
Why?
Because he sucks and he's a file.
What do y'all think is the biggest threat to America?
You.
All right, fair enough. That's pretty true.
I am really Batman. I do shut down illegal organizations.
The point is that when you talk to the average person on the street, and that's exactly
the point is when you talk to the average person on the street, just don't. Just don't. That's the point.
There is no question that the great noticing is happening and it is continuing. But I want to be very clear, and this is where the next segment comes in. One of the painful realities of what Zionism has done to the United States is that it has created this complete lack of separation between Zionism and Judaism, and that being a Jew is considered evil. And meanwhile, throughout the history of all of the issues that the Jews, if you will, have caused all over Europe and different parts of the world, it stems from the very top. It stems from the people who truly are in control of society. That's always been the mark. And here what we have is a prime example of what happens when one member represents all members. This is Rabbi Yom Tov Glasser. This apparently is Netanyahu Milikowski's primary rabbi. This is who he seeks his counsel from, or at least is one of the main rabbis that he seeks his counsel from. I think a lot of you probably have seen this. This has been making the rounds on social media over the past few days. Not a surprise. This is what he thinks of everybody who is not Israeli.
The most powerful nations in the world have to go down to their knees. That's what happened to Egypt. That's what's going to happen to America. It's what's going to happen to Germany. It's what's going to happen to France. It's what's going to happen to London, England. It's going to happen to Poland. It's what's going to happen to Russia. That's what's going to happen to China. It's what's going to happen to North Korea. They're all going to go down to their knees.
What are they going to do on their knees?
Until he got to North Korea, and that was just
I didn't know North Korea needed to get on their knees. What exactly are you expecting them to do on their knees, Rabbi? Does he have some type of a kink? Does he want to be sexually gratified by every, color of the global rainbow? Is that what it is?
So funny. That was so funny. They're all going to go.
Oh, he's not done. I mean, it actually gets
all right. I need to take a break for a second.
Okay. Well, I can understand that. Does anybody want to take a gander as to where this man was born? Because I have a very strong feeling it was not in Palestine. Just a thought.
Well, I would say Hungary, Ukraine, Poland, whatever. Wherever.
No, I think he's probably from Brooklyn. That's my guess.
He could be American. Oh, that too.
With that accent? Yeah, probably.
And all see Hashem. But as long as they keep helping us, they'll get a bracha. And they're not going to go down their knees. They're going to get a little more time.
For people who do not, bracha is a prayer. Bracha is a prayer. So the people who do for them will get a prayer. That's what that means. I'm translating.
Oh, please.
You guys want more time? I don't want more time. So you understand, when I hear they're friends with us, they're just perpetuating more of this status quo. They're all going to go down. They're all going to go down to their knees, and especially the Western ones. The Zohar says that they're going to go down hard for how they treated us over the last 2,000 years.
Well, if the Zohar says it's going to happen, I'm sure it'll happen.
Can you explain what the Zohar is? Because I'm not.
No, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh,
it has to do with one of their texts or one of their documents or one of their readings. That's what he's talking. He's referencing one of their, one of their documents, if you will. The Zohar must be like it's not a god. It's something it's like Talmud something. It's a thing. So if somebody knows, let me know. I don't know, but all I know is that it sounds ridiculous.
Can you remind the audience again of what the Talmud is and
it's Kabbalah. Okay, well then that's even weirder that he's talking about that, because Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. It's a branch of. It's kind of interesting. It's cult-like. But if you took like a cult-like ashram hippie vibe and based it on Judaism, that's kind of how I would describe what that is. But the Kabbalah is its own other thing, and it's also very expensive. That's why I say cult-like. Like if you join a Kabbalah center, it's sort of like you have to take classes, and it's a whole thing. But it's just generally speaking, Orthodox people or appearingly Orthodox people like this guy wouldn't reference Kabbalah. Like, that's why that's kind of weird to me. Because, yes, it's known as Jewish magic. That's what I'm saying. And the serious, exactly, Kabbalah is like Ouija board. That's what I'm trying to be as nice as possible. But it's very interesting for someone like him to reference Kabbalah. That's why I wouldn't know what that was. Zohar.
Sonia, love your profile picture. Any chance, always got to put the cuties up there. Finish it up.
Years for the destruction of the Second Temple and how they treated us. Hashem's going to take them down hard.
Oof. I think he got hard making that statement. I think he's a little excited there, isn't he?
Make him go away. It's so gross.
So this is an example of exactly what we talk about, where everyone looks at this and says, okay, he's a rabbi, he's Jewish, he clearly is a lunatic, and he's also a Zionist, and therefore all Jews suck. Well, this is a reason why we have to show you this, because it turns out that there was, now you'll hear about stories like this that will make the rounds, because obviously these people are insane. However, there was somewhat of I guess what you would call a revival of sorts, if you want to call it that, at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. This was over the weekend. And
it looks like it was some sort of conference. It looks like it was some sort of Hasidic conference.
This is an anti-Israel rabbi conference in Brooklyn, New York.
Was keiner gekannt hat, Name seiner Heiligkeit. In der selben Mann ist aufgestanden, aber auch das nicht mit der Methode von der Stiefel zu der Selbstverliebe.
So those rabbis are obviously Hasidic rabbis. They're in Brooklyn, so it makes sense. Obviously we know that there's the Neuteri Karta that are always very outspoken and pro-Palestinian, but there's other sects as well. So this looks like a bunch of different,
I got to tell you, Jen, I've been to the Barclays Center many times.
It's big.
It's big. I'm a Net fan. I've been there for several basketball games, and I can tell you that just based on the eye test alone, This is several thousand rabbis.
And just so you know, he's not speaking Hebrew. If I can't hear, but he's speaking Yiddish would be my guess. Most of these Jews in the community in Brooklyn, the Hasidic Jews, they speak Yiddish. So yeah, it's not Hebrew.
I also am willing to believe that this is probably a major conference that attracted a lot of rabbis outside of just Brooklyn. This is very possible that this could be from a lot of different regions. And the reason that this is so important to highlight is because there is a pretty healthy portion of the Jewish population that is not on board with any of this stuff.
That's Yiddish is of German origin. And it has what sounds like old Hebrew, but it is not the same as anything like modern day Hebrew. That was made up in 47.
Yeah. Can you briefly touch upon also again, why the Zionist movement stopped speaking Yiddish and only spoke Hebrew? Or
this is deep, guys. This is a deep conversation, but so my family, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, they all spoke Yiddish. The Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews that came out of Poland, Russia, Hungary, Austria, they spoke Yiddish. But when they formed the Jewish state, it was, again, this is based on ethnic supremacy. And there was this certain amount of self-loathing amongst these Jews. And again, it's post-Holocaust, but the mentality was around long before the Holocaust, where Jews were not seen as white. And in order for Jews to feel like they were no longer going to be the weaklings, they were no longer going to be the minority, they were going to have their own state and their own identity. And a lot of that was based on their thoughts that they weren't as good and needed to be white. So one of the ways to do that is to create your own nation and you have your own language. And so when the Ashkenazi Jews that relocated there, they were forced to speak Hebrew. They were not allowed to speak Yiddish. And they were treated very poorly. So again, they were forced to give up they were forced to give up their own ethnicities in order to pretend to have a new one, which would be Israeli. And so
you froze. I hope you're still there, Jen. Usually we kind of get that warning that it's coming, but assuming that she is frozen or that she'll return, here's hoping. It is imperative that we continue to highlight these types of stories because, like I said, whether you like Jews or not is kind of irrelevant. You can hate them for all I care. Again, for me, it doesn't mean anything. What does matter is whether or not we're doing everything in our capacity to end the stranglehold that is the Zio state. And if we are not nuanced about this issue, we'll never end it.
I'm back. I'm sorry. What did I miss? I had to switch over.
Just saying how this is all about being able to distinguish the difference between Judaism and Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
Zionism, think of Zionism in some ways like the Westboro Baptist Church. There are people who believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, but there are people who also understand that there are lunatics out there who take his name, the Lord's name, in vain for the purpose of, hatred, supremacy, economic opportunity. There are many reasons why this occurs, let's say, in Christian Zionism. The whole concept of the ideology is about a supremacism that is based around money and power. And this has been going on since the dawn of time. This just happens to be what we're living through right now. So it is incumbent upon us to continue to highlight the importance of these stories, not just the crazy Zionist psychopathic rabbis like Rabbi Glazer, but also the fact that he is one that happens to stick out like a sore thumb compared to many others that do not share the sentiments of Israel.
Right. I just want to say, and I've said it before, but Yiddish sounds comfortable to me. When I was little, I heard a lot of growing up that it's that was how my bubby spoke to her kids and they all communicated. And So it doesn't bother me. I find it comforting, actually.
Well, since we've since we've gone there and since we are here, how about we do some Zio hunting, Jen? Shall we do some Zio hunting?
No, you want to get into it. We could get into it.
I think we have to. I think, considering that we are on the eve of the Florida primary elections, and yes, we are sending our very best to Oliver Larkin. You know, Oliver Larkin is somebody that Jen and I have known for, geez, I guess it's got to be like 5 or 6 years now. Oliver worked on Nina Turner's campaign back in 21, I believe.
I didn't know that. I didn't know we knew him. I didn't know we already knew him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And so, considering how everything has turned out, he's caught lightning in a bottle. He has the full backing of the DSA. He obviously has done well with fundraising. He's a good guy, and he's got a lot of balls. You know, we saw what happened when he went on Fox News and declared that the president of the United States is a pedophile. And I totally didn't appreciate that. So, of course, they had to kick him off. But as we've pointed out time and again, and Glenn Greenwald, again, you know how we always talk about our conversations come full circle in many ways. When Glenn was on with Tucker, he made a point to talk about the fact that there really is not much daylight between the Democrats and Republicans. When you get right down to it, there's maybe 5 to 10% difference between the two parties. And that's what the corporate media infrastructure highlights. But if you want to talk about somebody, if you want to talk about why it wasn't necessarily a fool's errand, but why it was impossible for Jen to break through against Wasserman Schultz in South Florida, it's because this is where the heaviest concentration of the wealthy Zionist Jews reside. This is where they live. They live in Southeast Florida along the A1A coastline from Boca Raton to Miami Beach. This is where they are. And this is one of those areas that crosses over not just where Jen had run against Wasserman Schultz, but now where Oliver Larkin is running against Jen's favorite Zio pussy, Jared Moskowitz.
Oh, no, you had to say it.
Of course. I mean, he has to be called out for this. So the lady's name in question to start off our Zio hunting is Glenna Milberg. This is a person who works for the NBC affiliate in South Florida. She is, well, I don't have to say anything more. Let's just play the clip.
Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza.
That's incorrect. That is factually incorrect.
It has been regarded by the United Nations and Amnesty International and even Israeli human rights organizations, including B'Tselem. There's
the definition of genocide in the UN has said this, does not apply to what many people might think as a disproportionate wartime action.
Okay, freeze it right there. The rhinoplasty on this one too. It's it's like you're showing your whole ass, lady. Jesus.
You see, we don't really care what the UN and Human Rights Watch and all these other groups say. We're the chosen people. We say
I want to know what I want to know what her beak looked like before she trimmed it off. That's what I want to know.
Alex Scott Mittens has the right idea.
And that look on her face is perfect. This bitch is actually saying something is factually incorrect. First of all, that's not even a normal phrase. Like, that's a completely non-journalistic thing to say, that something is factually incorrect. You could just say that's incorrect.
Yeah.
You could just say that's incorrect. Why would you have to say that's factually incorrect? No, it's incorrect. It is therefore not a fact. But continue, bitch.
That's what that is in many people's minds. Genocide is a very specific thing. Actually, genocide being committed against Jewish people.
I mean, you would think that this can't get worse, but evidently it can. So it's the Jews that are experiencing genocide right now. Jen, I had no idea. I knew we had it wrong. We always did.
But people like her truly believe that there was only ever one genocide in history, and it only happened to the Jews in World War II. That's the only Holocaust. Nothing else. And if you dare compare anything else, they'll put you in your place because you'll just be factually incorrect.
I want you guys to understand something, just so you have an idea. If we were not blacklisted when Jen ran for Congress, if there was an open primary situation where she could have stated her case, we had money, we had support, we did a pretty decent job. This is the person Jen would have had to sit down with for an interview if it was going to be any type of local corporate media. So if you had even suggested some of the things that you've said, this is the type of response that you generally would have gotten. It would have been a
I don't know what this woman's background is. I don't know where she's from, where she grew up, where she went to school. I don't know anything about her. But she reeks of disgusting levels of entitlement.
Yes.
That's what I know. Now, what that's from, I don't know.
It's real. And that's just a fact.
I mean, the United Nations recently in Geneva found that the IDF had deliberately targeted women and children. There's been famine conditions imposed over the Gaza Strip by the blockading of aid entering the Strip. There's been indiscriminate bombing of hospitals, of mosques, of churches.
Again, I'm going to have to stop you, as that is factually not correct. But I hear you talking about something very important to a lot of people, and certainly who think that way. But as a congressman, and I'm being told we have to wrap, but as
I can appreciate the fact that Oliver has a expression on his face that almost wants to be the expression that Jen is displaying right now. Unfortunately, her screen is frozen again. But the point is, and yes, but no, that's not surprising, because whether it's that local affiliate, whether it is the CBS affiliate that Jim DeFede is the host of, this unfortunately is an example of journalistic malpractice. And it doesn't matter, because in their mind, they can't do anything wrong. This is why when people from afar have said, well, Wasserman Schultz can't be touched, this is a prime example of that. This is an example of why they're able to get away with what they get away with. This is a prime example of the corporate media Zionist infrastructure protecting somebody like, in this case, Jared Mauskowitz. That's essentially, that's what happened here. No, Jen, this is just factually incorrect.
Oh my God. But here she goes, and that's a fact.
Colin with the swipe. That was good.
Thank you, Colin. Peter cannot handle not being on the right.
I am definitely to the right.
Of me? Well, most people are.
Politically, yes, I am to the right of you politically. That is true. This is, and there will be no reprimand for this. But I'll tell you what, I did appreciate Oliver's smirk, because he really nailed it in a perfect way. But let me assure you,
I'm glad I didn't go on a show. Like if that were me, I would have had the exact same reaction to her if I were right in front of her. I would have just started laughing. If she would have said I would have just seriously started laughing.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Angela. I know her. Her name is Glenna Golden, my sorority sister. That's her. She looks different. She is from Florida, UF Delta. Of course she's from UF. Why UF? Why did they decide that this is where they all want to go? This is where Wasserman Schultz went. All of them. Jen, did you freeze again? Jen froze again. That's great, Steinbauer. Yeah, Sabby's one of our people.
Wait, Sabby gave us a shout out?
Yep.
Awesome. What was it about? Do you know?
If anybody wants to point out, hey.
Yeah, if you guys would let me know. So I will say that the fact that she's went to UF is not surprising. I mean, she works in Florida. She's Florida.
Yeah. The Zionists
okay.
love UF.
So the thing, okay, she's a Zionist, but it's interesting. So if she was at UF and she was at DG, that's very interesting if she's Jewish. So I don't know, yeah, because generally the Jewish girls at UF are in one of the Jewish sororities, and DG is definitely not one of those. So that's a very interesting little tidbit of information.
Now, I want to point out that this woman who you're going to see next, who could easily be Glenna's mother, probably. So much of what we talk about when it comes to Zio hunting is all based on class. I want you to look very closely at this lunatic woman.
She interviewed Angie.
Yeah. Oh, so Angie gave us, maybe Angie gave us.
I guess that's where she gave, well, that's probably what she said, that we connected her. Yeah.
Cool. And so this is a prime example of why we keep reminding you and have to keep reminding you all that the essence of Zionism, the essence of this ideology is all based around class. This is a supremacist ideology of the very wealthy, the very powerful, and here it is on full display.
You guys are terrorists. Terrorist. You guys are terrorists. You guys are fucking disgusting. Another mother. Yeah. We hope you have a beautiful time tonight. How about all the children in Israel? All the hostages your people are taking.
Your people. Your people. Your people. Let me explain. First of all, I don't see exactly who this group is that she's talking to. I mean, I think there's some women with hijabs, but it looks like it might just be a typical protest group. Mm-hmm. So, right. So who are their people? Their people are probably the New Yorkers in that neighborhood are their people. I just like the way she said that. It's just like, it speaks volumes, lady.
Oh, it does.
You all.
Boy, that is a flat butt.
And all of DC police is protecting these people. We can't get into the store. This is horrific. These people. You need to put your video off of me.
Why is she? But notice how she's walking around recording them, but then tells them they need to take her video.
Well, she's chosen. Well, she's chosen. When you're chosen, you can do what you want.
God.
When you're not chosen,
lady,
you can't.
Lady, take your little Kate Spade handbag back to Chevy Chase. Seriously, what are you doing?
You are inconveniencing her very private, privileged existence. They don't want to know that there's bad things going on.
Wait, this is good. She's a chosenite.
Now, one of the things that we experienced when Jen was running for Congress is that when we had to go to certain events in Fort Lauderdale, something that started happening a handful of years ago that the very wealthy and connected wanted was they wanted to literally sweep the homeless people off the streets because the wealthy didn't want to see them anymore. So they would have the popo go into the area and just clear them out. That's what they would do. This is the type of woman who, if she's living in Georgetown or Foggy Bottom, or as Jen alluded to, maybe she's living in Chevy Chase if she's in Maryland, or Tyson's Corner if she's in Virginia. This is the type of person who doesn't want to see anything, doesn't want to see any of the decay of society. She can't see it.
Exactly, which is why I think of her as somebody who doesn't live in the city. She's somebody to me that would be like a suburbanite. She's in the city for like her hair appointment or whatever it is. And she's her panties are in a bunch. That's why I was thinking she's coming from the burbs because of her, like how people who live in DC are used to this.
Yeah. No, you're actually making,
you know what I mean? Like, that's why I was thinking, yeah.
You're making a good point. And that's exactly why when it comes to Zionists, the tolerance must be zero. And that brings us to our final Zio hunt. Many of you have seen what happened at this med spa, where the owner got into it with a customer who admitted that she is Israeli or is a supporter of Israel. And this is what went down.
Do a genocide. Get out of my office.
I'm gonna leave, but I will be contacting somebody to get my deposit.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I've not stolen anything. I made a deposit. I don't support Israel.
Please don't record me. That's really offensive.
No, but actually I also have your video release form too, so.
What does that mean?
That means that you signed a photo video release form.
Okay, I didn't do anything wrong.
No, there's nothing wrong. I kindly asked you to, you just kept saying Israel. You're talking about politics.
I had no idea that you would
When
do
you
this
keep
based on my
saying things
ethnicity.
like I'm Israeli American, and then I say things like, oh, I just don't
didn't
really
say anything
support or
of-
believe in Israel.
But you were doing this based
And then
on
you're
my ethnicity.
defending it, which is totally fine. You can defend it as much as you want, but this is my business. This is my.
That's fine. That's totally
and I'm not
fine.
gonna
But
do
you
it.
should. But you should give me my deposit back. And if you don't, I'm gonna have to take legal action. And I.
No, you can. You can take legal action. All my clients are really happy. I really like it, but I really don't support. I even have a sticker right here that says Free Palestine. I'm big Free Palestine. I'm huge Free Palestine. I'm massive Free Palestine. I would.
Okay. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say anything political. I just told you
Actually,
that
the
I'm from
entire
Israel.
conversation we had was
We were talking about
political.
Afghanistan.
Yeah,
You
but
weren't
that's what I'm
talking about
saying. We're
Israel.
talking about everything that is politics, even aside from Israel. But for me, Israel isn't politics. There's a genocide going on.
If there's not a
And
genocide, but
Where
There it
is this? Do we know where this is?
Northern Virginia.
Okay, because I was going to say if this, I would forward if this were in Florida, I'd like tell people to go to this woman. That she does she's eyebrow artist. She's the eyebrow tech person. Yes, so I was going to say people should still go to her. I just don't know anybody where that is.
So for anybody who thinks that this Israeli is correct in seeking her deposit back, this is after the services have been rendered. She wants her money back because she doesn't like the way this woman is talking to her, because again, she feels entitled. And when you feel entitled,
I don't know that she had the work done. I don't know that she did. I think that she was, did she have?
Or you think that maybe she was in the process of having it done?
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, it doesn't matter. It's a non-refundable deposit. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Every woman who books services like that with people like this, with women like this, who clearly are independent practitioners, right? She's not at some like Euro Wax or whatever big spa place. She has her own little business. She has Free Palestine hanging behind her. Everybody who goes there knows that the deposit is non-refundable. We all know that.
Correct.
So
and make no mistake, this is exactly the way that Zionists need to be dealt with. Period. We cannot control what's going on in West Asia, but we can control how things operate here in the States. We have to make them beg for mercy.
No, I don't think it's nails, guys. I think it's eyebrows. I think she does eyebrows. And I don't think it's a spa, but it looks like that's a specialty place. Like I know that I went to an eyebrow person and that's what they do is eyebrows. So, but the point is she can work on and not work on whoever the fuck she wants to. And your deposit is non-refundable as per the agreement she signed, just like she also agreed that her picture could be released because she signed that too. See, this woman here, she's no dummy. This ain't her first rodeo with some fucking Karen. That's why she's recording the whole thing. She exactly.
And see, that's exactly. It would be different if you said something like, "Yes, there is a genocide. I don't support what the Israeli government is doing." Yeah, I would have, slide by, but you don't. You just said there's no genocide. Get out of my office.
I'm gonna leave, but I will be contacting somebody to get my deposit.
Go ahead. Go ahead. See ya.
Nice. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's where we get some of this. Right, this is let's give it up for this one. Yeah. This lady, good for you. Good for you, lady. I wish we knew the name of her place. I'd promote it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fucking wants her deposit back.
We're going to do a lightning round of 2 since we've got about 20 minutes left. Colin, please pull up the Colombia story. There is a
reason. Are we talking, wait, Colombia, the country or the university?
The country.
Okay. I didn't know what the story was, so I'm not.
We have to do a dose of our international flair for the evening, but this one is very important.
What happened with, what am I missing?
So
war in Colombia? Like, what the fuck?
So apparently Colombia had an earthquake of some kind.
Oh, okay.
At least that's what we're being told. And it turns out that in the midst of everything, that the IOF is dealing with right now, trying to create their Greater Israel project. Evidently, they're also bringing aid of some kind.
It's a 5-5. I would think it would. All right. Well, let's see. It looked from the picture. It looks like it might have been bigger, but all right.
Colin, can I have the story, please? The Israelis.
You're saying it's a bombing thing?
Well, that's what people are suspecting. That's the suspicion here.
Again, we never are going to ever believe anything anymore. We're never going to, not to mention, and now you throw AI in the mix. You know, we were already skeptical about what we could believe and what we couldn't believe. We were already skeptical. And now with AI, I don't believe, honestly, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Okay. I could have
Data
sworn
centers? What did he say?
No, I could have sworn that I sent it over. I apologize. I could have. Let me give me 1 second. Colombia, Israeli military. Yeah, sure they do.
Yeah, Israel is trying to take over South America. Is true.
Well, that's
which means setting fires. They're setting fires. I mean,
I just sent to Colin.
These people.
No, what I think is happening is exactly what they are doing in Colombia is exactly what they did in Argentina. Whether it's setting fires, whether it is, in this case, this is coming directly from a pro-Colombia kind of like a liberation page. Sharp change in Colombian foreign policy. And now the Israeli military is moving in. Colombia is only the second country to officially recognize Israel's sovereignty over the occupied Golan Heights following an announcement on Monday, August 10th, 3 days after Abelardo de la Espriella was sworn in as Colombia's new president. In 2019, the U.S. under the Donald First administration became the only UN member state to back Israel's claim, despite the UN recognizing the Golan Heights as belonging to Syria. The de la Espriella government also announced it was cutting diplomatic relations with Western Sahara, a move seen as a direct challenge to Spain.
Let me guess. They're also going to recognize Somaliland.
And another fop to Trump. What is fop? What does that mean?
What do you...
FOP. I've never heard that word, but FOP? Do you hear that word? That's interesting. The U.S. president has been very critical of Spain. Why? Because they beat Argentina for the World Cup over its position on Gaza. Oh, yeah, there's that as well. And subsequent refusal to participate in the war on Iran. Oh, maybe the Spanish don't want to die for Israel. Isn't that a shame?
Fascinating.
Jen, would you please?
The change in position on the Golan Heights has met fierce criticism, both internationally and in Colombia. Turkey said it was a grave violation of international law, as the Golan Heights are an integral part of Syria. Similarly, Oman said Colombia's decision constitutes a violation of international law and contradicts international legitimacy resolutions, foremost among them Security Council resolution, blah, 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 blah. Saudi Arabia and Egypt also criticized. Give us a I don't understand this. So now you've got our allies criticizing our bitches and our bitches criticizing our allies. And what does any of that matter? Some analysts warn it has sparked an unnecessary diplomatic crisis with Arab states. This is what sparked the unnecessary diplomatic crisis with the Arab states? I don't think so. I don't think that's what it was. I don't think so. I think it's bigger than that. Colombia's trade with Arab League nations in 2024 was 4 times higher than its trade with Israel. If the dispute escalates, it could have serious economic consequences. And there it is. The announcement was made just hours after the devastating earthquake struck Western Colombia has further angered many people. Amid a tragedy like the one we're living through, what was the need to open a crisis with the Arab countries? I wonder what that could be. Could it have something to do with, I don't know, Ziohel?
During the government of Gustavo Petro, Colombia how do you say that fucking word again? I'm botching it, Jen. It's vociferously, finally. I knew the word. I forgot how to say it. Vociferously opposed that's exceptionally. Opposed Israel's assault on Gaza. It ended coal exports to Israel, banned arms purchases from Israel, supported international arrest warrants against Israeli leaders, and strengthened relations with Palestine. Moreover, Petro also accused Israel of interfering in the elections that saw De La Espriella elected. Gee, you think that it might not have been an election on the level? Well, I guess you had two choices. Have an election on the level, and then we'll just remove your leader, kind of like they did in Venezuela. That's it.
And let us not forget that we're still holding the democratically elected leader of Venezuela hostage and his wife.
And his wife. Mm-hmm.
Right. We're holding, like textbook, holding them hostage.
Yeah. So that's exactly why. By contrast, De La Espriella has withdrawn support for arrest warrants, opened the door to military partnerships, and said he will move Colombia's Israeli embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a move that is controversial because the city lies in the occupied territories of the West Bank, and the UN does not recognize it as Israel's capital. De La Espriella has stated that Colombia's alliance with Israel is intended to bring modern military and This is a fascist country now. Colombia is a full-blown fascist puppet state in South America, thanks to the U.S.-Israel genocidal alliance. And surveillance technologies to Colombia to aid in the struggle against narco-terrorism. Jen, you please.
The new government's shift in policy reflects a broader realignment behind the priorities of the current U.S. administration in various spheres. De La Espriella has spoken of leading a cultural battle against left-wing and liberal ideas. Speaking at the Far-Right Heritage Foundation earlier this year, Colombia's new foreign minister echoed this, saying that Colombia must be part of a hemispheric defense of Western civilization. Yeah, because we've done such a bang-up job thus far. In the domestic sphere, the new government promises to start fracking immediately and to provide the U.S. with key minerals. There are also measures that echo Trump policies or that are close to the hearts of the international far right. Oh,
of course.
What could go wrong? Perhaps you want me to do it or you want to do it?
Yeah, your call.
Perhaps most cynically, the new government's alignment with Trump has been obvious in the way it has only requested earthquake aid from the U.S., Ecuador, El Salvador, and new ally Israel. While neglecting to request it from countries like China, Mexico, and Spain, which had declared they had aid teams and supplies ready but needed Colombian permission to travel. Why wouldn't you want people to come bring aid? That's interesting. Don't you guys think that's interesting? Like, it's you wouldn't want countries who have teams ready and willing and able to help you to come help? That's very suspect to me. David Flores, former director of the state-run DNP Unit for Peace and Human Rights, posted saying, talking with friends from coffee, blah, 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 blah. Everyone claims that the task of removing debris and searching for people has mainly fallen on volunteers, but there are a few professional rescuers. Why not expedite the arrival of international rescuers? What are the reasons for blocking it or making it delayed?
Tragically, it seems that ordinary Colombians in the affected zones will be made to pay for their government's international toadying.
Very interesting. I don't really see why you would not take the help. I don't understand that, really. I'm not understanding that. Unless...
Well, there really isn't much to think about.
Unless it's a false flag situation and they don't want those countries in there and seeing that it's a false flag situation.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm reading from people on social media that are in Colombia. They're all saying this. Whether they're in Bogota or other parts of the country, they're all.
So are they saying that there wasn't an earthquake, that it was something else?
They're saying that they think it might have been a detonation situation made to appear to be an earthquake. That's what they're suggesting.
But
and that's
was it reported as an earthquake somewhere?
That is what it was reported as on the international scene. But the problem is you have this earthquake, and then who are the rescue teams that are coming in? The IOF is managing to find their way to Colombia. They're going to attempt
and
to
El Salvador? El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah, all our little minion bitches.
You know how you talk about the government and the people in charge who are always like many steps ahead of where the average person ultimately figures this out? You know what this tells me? This tells me that they know they're finished in West Asia, so now they have to move their resources to another part of the world. Yeah. And that's why World War III, if it's going to happen, is going to happen out of South America, because all of these nations are surrounding Brazil, which is the biggest and most powerful. Brazil is more economically sustainable and powerful than all the other countries in South America combined. And BRICS is it is backed by BRICS. It is backed by China and Russia, and they are fortifying their positions all across Brazil. And what that tells me is they're going to ultimately attempt to take Brazil over. And then it's going to be a question of whether China and Russia decide to join up as part of the BRICS coalition to stop it from happening. And if it does, then that's World War III. And that's where it'll happen. My opinion.
I mean, you know, I think it's happening kind of right now all over the place. That is sort of that's the whole premise of World War. I think that, yeah, could there be more theaters opened up now that you've got Ziohel trying to basically take over South America? Yeah.
Kate, where are you coming up with that?
BRICS is not dead.
Where are you coming up with that BRICS is dead? So far from the truth. Again, show us something. You know, again, when people say, oh, it's dead based on what?
I don't know.
There is no question. And Heather's right. We're in it now. So to the people of Colombia, we'll do everything we can to bring attention to this story. I think the story is very important. And it is incumbent upon us anytime there's something brewing under the surface that the Zio state, the Western hegemony, is attempting to pull. They're doing it right now, and they're doing it with a fascist puppet president in Colombia. If there is a fascist puppet anywhere in the world right now, it's De La Espriella in Colombia, period. Jen, we have a quick story to conclude with tonight. You and I both have a very strong opinion already about the unfortunate demise of Hayden Panettiere. You know, she was in an SVU episode in, I believe, the second or third season. This was very early on, and it was a very powerful episode. And it's like art imitating life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's, but again, I told you this when you messaged me. It isn't, because that was not the situation in that case. She was the daughter of famous people in the story. But I feel horrible about it. And I think that it's very sad. I think that it's just another tragic collateral damage of Hollywood and childhood stardom. And I think it's very, very sad. I think that people like that never have a real chance. And the ones who are somehow able to find their way out of it, I just think it's through like so many different variables have to fall in line to help them get out of it. I feel sad for her. And I think it's also very possible that this is something nefarious, you know, not just the typical that she was so miserable kind of thing. I mean, she's clearly on a tour for her book. She's been putting out video content and doing interviews. Yeah, I think that that's problematic and should be investigated. I think she's very young to just accept that she's just dead at 36. That's kind of young to just be like that you would just die like that.
Listen carefully to what she says here.
A moment in your career where a friend of yours takes you onto a boat, you're led to a room which has an older man in it, and then basically told to perform sexual acts and, you know.
Oh, yeah. Perspective. completely shifted, and I realized that I was in danger. But by the time I'd realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening. So it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise. And it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust. And
isn't that always the case?
Well, I mean, her mother was like basically pimping her out since she was a baby. So, she was told to shut up and take it by her mother. That's some fucked upness, which explains why she was messed up as to being a mother herself. Like, it's just very tragic. It's sad. It's so sad.
For years, we had always been fed. Again, we now understand how the propaganda machine works in a lot of ways, but for the longest time, we were always told that Michael Jackson was a pederast. And
I never really believed that, though. And I told you that many times in the past few years, long before any of this stuff came up.
Correct. But the thing that always struck me was how defensive Macaulay Culkin was of Michael Jackson. And this is a person who spent a lot of time with him. And Macaulay Culkin is somebody, much like Hayden Panettiere, was pushed into this world by his abusive father. He did it to all of his kids, but Macaulay obviously was the crown jewel. And of course, he ended up becoming the biggest child star of the late 80s and early 90s. And so for that reason, you look back now, let's definitely support that.
That's why I wanted to flag it. That's right. That's why I wanted to flag it. I didn't want to lose it. So guys, we're going to just mention the salon owner, Karimi Browse. So her name is Fatana Karimi, and her brow salon is Karimi Browse is in Old Town Alexandria. So guys, anybody in the Old Town Alexandria vicinity.
Jen and I have probably walked past this place when we were there a while back. When I took
I've been there a couple of times, but
put that half doorway.
I love that. But point being, guys, go support Karimi Browse if you're in Old Town.
If you're in the DC metro area, please find your way over there if you can. It would be very helpful. I think you're absolutely right. I think Hayden probably was abused many times.
Oh.
And
if she's talking about one instance, there were many. Many. There were instances that she probably doesn't even remember when she was really, really little, and things that she's been doing this since she was an infant. So I can't fathom.
Correct. And a lot of times they just happen to look away. Now, the reason why this is taking a major turn here, and we will continue with Hayden's commentary, is that now she's spilling the beans. This is completely different than rumors. This is, no, I'm not going to hide this. And by the way, I don't know if she mentions this in the interview or not, but the person in question that sexually assaulted her in this case is an Oscar winner. And it's an Oscar winner from a very specific time period, which means you can narrow it down to a very select few people.
So
I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in the chat has a couple of ideas.
And again, that's one of many.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And see as a protector and somebody who had my back, and to be walked down, down the stairs. And it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room. And she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this, like this was just, an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave. And I mean, that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide, and I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. On a boat, there was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to. I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation. That this was nothing new to them.
I love everybody in the chat trying to figure it out. Guys, Spacey's into young boys.
Yeah, why would somebody say Kevin Spacey?
I mean, I you know, I'm not singing praises, but she's not his type. So I'm just saying that. But
yeah, definitely not. And she will.
And then the people saying Tom Hanks, it's kind
Tom
of.
Hanks.
I've
heard things about Tom Hanks too, but again, you don't know. Again, like I said, you need.
Also, Sean Penn, nah. He could. I could see him as being abusive to someone that he was with for sure, because he definitely comes off belligerent and like he has like addiction.
Well, you heard about the things that he did to Madonna when the two of them were together.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me at all. But what she's describing, no. No.
A Chord Lord has to give got to give it up to a chord. That's a good one. Tom Hanky Pankies. That's a good one.
You've got Gene Hackman. I don't think so.
Woody
Allen.
Interesting.
Definitely not Denzel Washington. No.
Well, let me tell you a little something about the.
And she did say old person. She did say old person, and so this was back then, so it wouldn't have been. But yeah, no, Denzel. Denzel would never have gone to a Diddy party. No.
Denzel Washington is one of the rare people in Hollywood at that level who is regarded as somebody who is a honest and faithful operator to his wife. He does not party. He doesn't do any of that shit.
In fact, he did, and he avoided all of like I think that he something. There was a video somewhere somehow where he was in proximity to, I want to say it was like Diddy or whatever, and you saw like he walked right by him. Like not Denzel. No.
One thing I will never forget that must always be pointed out here.
Weinstein. I mean, that's
Weinstein.
That's what I was. No, not De Niro. I don't see that at all.
No, she's really not my type. She's not my type.
No, not that. I just can't. People like that. I just feel like if it were someone, you would have heard so many things about De Niro by now that would be along those lines, and I haven't ever. I don't know. No, Polanski was already gone. He was already gone.
The reason why I'm highlighting Polanski is because this is a guy who, again, it is a known fact that he had anally raped a 13-year-old at his, and he drugged and then anally raped a 13-year-old at his, I guess his house in Hollywood, and fled the country. And then he won the Oscar for The Pianist. Yeah, I'm sure. Why not? You don't want to know these people. These are not your friends. These are not your heroes, with very rare exceptions. Could have been. Listen.
Hey, that one I wouldn't comment on. But the only thing is she said old guy. And even then, to her, I don't think that's the right age differential. It would need to be somebody like, that's why I'm thinking somebody like Harvey Weinstein.
And here's the thing,
old guy.
Whether this is true or not, here's all you need to know about Leo or any of these other guys. Leo went to Diddy parties. That is a fact. They got pictures of him there.
Yeah.
So,
but Leo, I don't see as somebody, but Leo gets all these young girls. It's gross in and of itself. He doesn't, he wouldn't be sitting on a bed having to arrange for somebody to bring him her. Right? That's something that Harvey Weinstein does.
But here's that's what so James Blunt appears to be the person that they're suggesting is the one. So even if that's the case, here's the point. You do understand that most of these people all know this stuff. Brad Pitt knew that Harvey Weinstein was abusing Gwyneth Paltrow, and no one ever stopped it. And again, I'm not here to defend Gwyneth Paltrow because she doesn't, she's a Zio nut job to begin with. But at the same time, it is clear as day that they all know the score. And all of these people are protected. You know how many young starlets, if you will, have disappeared over the years that you've never heard of? And this is in all the entertainment industries. This is from movies, stage, all the way down to porn. They're here one day, they're gone the next day. That's how this works. It's a cesspool of a world.
No.
They're all. I kind of like how you're playing this. You're playing this guessing game about who would. Who
it's an Oscar. It says Oscar winner and something else though. Oscar winner and director. So that should limit it down to a lot. That should limit it, guys. If it's Oscar winner and director. Yeah. Well, apparently, so it's in her memoir. Apparently, it was worth somebody taking her out for.
100%. Well, that's the thing. Now you got to wonder how much more obvious.
I don't think Tarantino's got. I don't think he's won.
No, but Tarantino's got a lot of skeletons in his closet.
I don't think he's won I don't think he's won. He's not won Best Actor.
Yes, no, but he won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for Pulp Fiction.
Right, but they're saying it was a Best Actor, Best Director Oscar, so that's not.
Yeah, no, so then it wouldn't be him.
No. And if Tony McAfee take his name out of your mouth in that.
No,
way.
you don't. We don't diss on Robert Redford here. That's
not no. And by no, and about no. Whole lot of no.
I will say, as much knowledge as I have of the entertainment industry, Robert Redford may be the most handsome / charismatic actor.
Lila.
Lila, who? Oh, he's not. Okay. I trust you. You know a lot more than I do. I only know what I've been told, and not everybody knows, but you're a lot more on the inside. We have a fellow actress here who definitely can attest to whether or not
he definitely cheats. All right. Well, cheating is not the same thing as
raping.
Graping and is not the same thing as trafficking and Diddy partying. So those are different things. I can't.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that I think is very fair. And but again, as I said, you don't want to know these people. Lila can attest to it. Most people can attest to it with and I do mean very rare exception. These are not good people. They're just not. You can enjoy their entertainment if you like it. But this is, again,
both of those do seem like possibilities based on things I've heard about both of those people.
Yeah. And it is unfortunate. I think without question, you and I both have come to the conclusion that whatever they're telling us regarding Hayden's demise.
Early 2000s. Lila's saying this would have been early 2000s. So, and she said it was an older man. So I don't think it would be.
So she was a teenager at the time.
Yes. She was just starting out.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the whole point. And she's saying it was an older person, early 2000s. So, Clint Eastwood, too old? No, but it would have been in the 2000s. Clint Eastwood.
Again, as I said, you don't know these guys. We only know them from a distance.
She was 18 years. Okay.
She was 18 at the time. Okay, so this was 18 years ago. Okay, so 2008.
Yeah. Guys, we all just we should.
All right, so go back to the Oscar winners prior to 2008. So 2007, back, I don't know, maybe a few years. Was that when, when Mystic River was 2003, 2004. So that's Sean Penn and.
I'm going to go with Clint Eastwood. Seems like
Clint Eastwood.
Well, in terms of actor director that was winning, yeah, he was 80 in 2008. He did Gran Torino. All right.
Yeah. Well,
all right, guys. We're never going to necessarily be able to parse this out.
Just remember Robert Wagner, who clearly was involved with Natalie Wood's demise, and I hate to say it, but I was on that boat too. It was a bad night. Stuck at sea. I couldn't get off, nor could I pee. I wanted to go, but he told me to stay quiet. The rumors started. They suggested, maybe so, right or wrong, I was the one involved with Mr. Wagner.
All right, listen, I gotta put chickens up, so we gotta wrap. And now your hair's purple again.
There's no telling why these people do what they do. But when you feel like you're untouchable, you end up thinking you're a Zionist. If you've enjoyed this conversation, which we hope you have, please consider, ladies and gentlemen, going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite heavily suppressed, yet still growing channel. Give a shout out to our amazing supporters of the evening. Red Amy with the 1999. Thank you both for everything you do to share so much info with all of us. I appreciate both of you. We appreciate you, Amy. You are an incredible supporter of our channel, and we really appreciate you being here. Jim Taleb with the $10. Jen, Jim's up in the ante.
Thank you so much, Jim.
He's picking it up. We appreciate
Somebody
you,
also told me they got to put their chickens up too. Good. Yeah. My chickens are in the dark. It's kind of sad.
Well, you know, you're also inspiring people to become farm
and I will say, and it's hard. And right now I'm on the property alone, which is fine. But when I do the show, it really is dark by the time I can go put the chickens up. So it's not ideal. It's much better to have, you know, people helping with that.
Pack woman communicating with us from sometime the following day on the other part of the world. It's like, I think it's lunchtime where she is right now. It's lunchtime in Australia.
Again, it's one of those mind fucks to me because it's tomorrow today.
Yes.
She's in tomorrow.
In the future.
Today. I know. Also, this is funny. I have to just show you that.
Okay. Just so you guys
for multiple reasons.
I'm setting this up. I'm letting you guys know ahead of time. We do have a Ben Shapiro clip for Thursday. So I just want to let you know that that's coming. Guess what? And just so I can give you guys a little bit of an appetizer, it's Ben Shapiro commenting on another shitlib Zio that he thinks is a wonderful human being. So we'll have some fun with that. We'll do it in good day. Good day. I'm going to do it in Aussie accent. Free America to free the earth from the synagogue of Satan. Much love. Much love to you in Aussie land. Let's give a big shout out to Lake Vacuum with the 1999. I see a commercial. Trump, Mark Levin, and Netanyahu superimposed on a mushroom cloud with Electric Funeral by a Black Sabbath playing in the background. Boy, that's one hell of an image.
Peter's hair is not purple. It really looks it though.
Purple rain.
He's
Are we going a two-for with Lake Vacuum? Let's go with two-for the 1999. Catherine Austin fits together with a Michigan scholar find 21 trillion missing from our budget, but justice and the FBI want to chase down the honest robbery on the street with a gun. Capiche? A little bit. I understand a little of what you're talking about. Basically, we only prosecute petty crimes. We don't prosecute white-collar crimes.
Of course.
100%.
Of course.
Noah Linden with the $5. Even my mother, who used to love Israel and everything it does, now sees that Israel is an evil force. If she can wake up, most people can wake up.
I've been wondering that about my ex-friend that was willing to throw me out like trash. Like,
has she ever reached out, Jen?
No. But I wonder if any people also that have like just been done with, like, if they've even reached the point where they're that, but they just would never say anything at this point. Because at this point, there would be no point.
Pirate Justin with the $2 built the third temple so it can be destroyed too. Yeah, I find it funny how they think they're going to do anything. Like the Kushners are going to redevelop Gaza. Are you nuts? I mean, talk about putting a big fat fucking target all over yourself. Sonia Darshi with the 199. Today was not great. Thank you for making my night. Oh,
thank you, Sonia, and your cute little Sonia and Archie. Now, I don't know if Archie is the pooch or if Archie is your partner, your significant other. But if that's Archie, he's really friggin' cute.
He is.
And if it's not Archie, whoever that is really friggin' cute.
I concur. Carson Cruz with the $10. I have no doubt Netanyahu's rabbi means exactly what he says. bring every country to its knees. The psychosis the rabbi is inflicted with is not hyperbole. It spreads.
Oh, Archie is the pooch. Okay. So that's Archie is that pooch. That
Very
looks
cute.
like some sort of husky shepherd something situation.
Definitely a poochie that does not belong in a state like Florida. That is for sure. And finally, Carson Cruz going a 2-4 as well with the $10. Thanks, Jen, Peter, and Colin.
Thank you, Carson.
We really appreciate you, Carson. You've been an amazing supporter of the channel. We thank each and every one of you for not only being a supporter, but also being a subscriber, a commenter, a liker.
We're getting down. We're narrowing down.
Yeah. Well, we know he's into that shit anyway. So that's
look.
Guys, and also a big shout out to our viewers at Rumble, on Instagram, on X, and on Facebook. Yes, even Facebook.
Guys, we're not forgetting Ben. Ben does our shorts for us. We've known Ben for years. That he is not.
He's not here tonight. He's got his time off now.
Yeah.
So smash that like button.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, that really narrows it down.
We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, is James? I think James Blunt is British.
But James Blunt, yeah, that's kind of weird. The musician?
Maybe. Let me see.
He's like a few years younger than me, I believe, but that's gross.
He's 52.
Oh, Tony, now you're saying Colin Firth. You're killing me. You're killing me. No, if not Mel Gibson, he's not English.
Nope. With that said, it's been a great show. It's been a long show, but we're glad that we were able to cover all the wonderful stories, and we'll have more for Thursday. So smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. See you Thursday.
We'll see you Thursday in Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.
Put up my chicken.